Mary, can you start that? All right, I'm going to call this meeting to order of the General Operations Committee at 6:30 p.m. on Monday, April the 7th, 2025. Commissioner Holmes, would you mind saying the invocation for us, please?
Father God, thank you for this day. Thank you for the sunshine that gives us a renewed spirit after all the dreary and rain and tornadoes. And thank you for protecting Sumner County for that. And it could have been much worse, but thank you for protecting us. Lord, help us to focus on you, give you the glory for all that we do. Help us to be good stewards of the taxpayer money tonight and make the best decisions that we can for the citizens of Sumner County. It's in your name that I pray. Amen.
Amen. All right, do I have a motion for approval of agenda? Motion by Commissioner Jones, second by Commissioner Janone. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Approval of minutes. Have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Commissioner Klein, second by Commissioner Janone. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Recognition of the public. All right, we have a good amount of people on the list. I call your name. Would you please come up and stand right here and state your name and address for the record, please? Is this Miss Kathy Arlen? Or Kathy Arlen? Or is that a different meeting?
I think it's this one.
I don't know, just sitting here, so, oh, okay, never mind. It's a half animal control. All right. Jim Latimer.
That's one we know.
Yes.
Jim Latimer, 1578 Latimer Lane, Hendersonville, Tennessee. Thank you all for having us here again tonight and letting us speak. It looks very nice to see the sunlight coming in through the windows. When we're here, we're used to coming in dark and leaving in dark, so it's a little bit brighter spirit tonight. I just want to thank everybody that's worked toward getting the money released for the house and all the efforts you put into it. I think if we can move forward on this and get this house preserved, that this could really be a historical gem of the Sumner County community. There's a lot of stuff that can be done over there. It's a frontier house. It goes a lot of history back to Sumner County and the people that came here. So I encourage us to work as hard as we can to get this house preserved and make it the landmark that it deserves to be. And thank y'all.
All right, thank you. All right. I know, that's okay. Mr. Blanton, Judge Blanton, you're next.
I'm Ron Blanton. I'm at 155 East Main Street, Gallatin. I'm here. On your agenda tonight is discussion about recovery court and relocating. And originally we met last month with a joint committee with the opioid and general ops meeting. We were to be in front of the opioid abatement committee last week. That meeting got canceled. So I'm not sure whether you all are going to hear anything about that tonight. I'm here to answer any questions that you've got regarding the presentation I made the last time that you all met in joint session. I don't know if this is premature without coming out of the opioid abatement committee first, but I wanted to make myself available in case you had questions. If you're not going to have further discussion about this matter tonight, if it's going to be tabled until after the next opioid abatement committee, I would appreciate knowing that earlier instead of later. As I have twin grandbabies staying at my house right now, sleep is a premium. So if you could let me know, and again, I'm here to answer any questions, follow up from that you may have come up with since the last meeting. And I know Chairman Mansfield wasn't there, but he's been provided with a copy, and I went through that. I answered any questions that people may have had about the need for that. But I think it's pretty self-explanatory in the handout that I presented last time that you've had a chance, I'm sure, to review. So I just wanted to thank you all for your attention, for letting us meet as a joint committee and make our presentations along with the Prevention Coalition. But I wanted to let you know I didn't know if it would go forward tonight or not. And that's the reason why I'm here, just in case you had questions. All right, thank you.
All right, next up is Mr. Mike Gorham.
My name is Mike Gorham. I reside at 1116 Parker's Chapel Road in Portland, but I'm actually here on behalf of my work, which is at 1246 Louisville Highway in Millersville, Tennessee. where I'm the city manager. I'm here to speak about the proposed work at Millersville Fire Station number 2. The work that's proposed for the EMS housing. I've seen 2 plans for that. One of them involves taking 2 living spaces that are part of the current fire station, and the city is not interested in supporting that because of the fact that we have a lot of growth in that area, and we are in the very near future going to have to use that space for firefighters, 24/7 firefighters, probably in the next year or 2, we're going to have people there that are on the firefighting team, and we're going to need that space. We've had a good partnership with EMS, with Sumner County through the years, having EMS up there. We're grateful to have them. We'd love to have that partnership continue there, but the fire station is something we're going to need for firefighters. So we'd like for you to consider looking at something other than taking the space that we have there in the fire station, because we are going to need it. Thank you.
All right, next up, Ms. Jerica Mayo.
Hello, my name is Jerica Mayo, and I have the honor of serving as the president of the Sumner Prevention Coalition. I'm also the Safe Schools Supervisor for Sumner County Schools. As a certified prevention specialist with the state of Tennessee, I have seen firsthand the transformative power of education in preventing substance misuse, not just among our youth, but across entire families. As a grant-funded organization supported by the tireless efforts of volunteers, we know the power of every single dollar. And while it's impossible to assign a dollar value to a life saved or a future change, we know that the impact of this work is immeasurable. The building on Winchester represents more than just brick and mortar. It's a space for connection, for collaboration, and for hope. It will allow us to unite with other agencies, extend our reach, and touch more lives than ever before. To truly move the needle, we must be bold in our vision. We must dream bigger, reach farther, and continue pushing forward, because our community is worth it. We're deeply committed to the mission of the Sumner Prevention Coalition and welcome any opportunity for partnership as we work toward or together to build a brighter, stronger, healthier future for all. Thank you.
All right, and last is Miss Ashley Freeman.
My name is Ashley Freeman. I'm at 233 Sunset Boulevard in Gallatin. I'm a native Gallatin resident and a current board member for the Prevention Coalition. Prevention initiatives, especially for substance-related issues, are extremely important to me personally and also to our community. Recently, the Prevention Coalition made an offer to purchase the property at 117 East Winchester, hopeful to acquire it for a number of positive reasons. Owning this property will provide opportunities for much-needed office and planning space, as well as classroom and meeting space for prevention programs and the community. Our original offer on the property was made in good faith with regard to the tax assessment at the time of the offer. Please know that we are not asking to receive the building for free. However, with recent grant cuts and a growing need for prevention programs and resources, all dollars spent on the property for purchase or maintenance means fewer dollars for prevention programs and resources. I'm asking you to consider the importance of our work and purpose, and also our desire to use available money to implement prevention and awareness programs in Gallatin and Sumner County, ultimately helping us work together to continue our efforts. Thank you.
All right, includes public comments.
Mr. Chairman, I think you skipped me.
Oh, Mr. McLaurin, I did. My apologies, come on up.
Trying to silence me. I know. If it makes you feel any better, so does Cindy. See, she didn't deny it. But I'm here to speak about the Brown House, as you guys know. Hopefully we can, this is moving along. I know the $500,000 had been transferred, and I'd asked the mayor, and he said the interest had also been transferred. So hopefully in his report he can tell us how much of that was. But And Mr. Klein, I think, has gotten with Mr. Coker, so hopefully that can move along here pretty quickly. Cindy and I went down there in the Gator the other day, and somebody had kicked in the side door. I mean, it's just an old house, and somebody found a door they could kick in. It just busted the deadbolt out of the frame. But I would think one of the first things, probably once this gets started, is maybe some type of lighting down there, because around those big trees, it's awful dark at night. There's plenty of lighting around the schools, but nothing down in there. But Cindy and I went to, over the weekend, the Bridal House over in Cottontown had their first opening of the year, and they did a great job over there. I don't know who the people was that did all that, but they just did a wonderful job, and hopefully someday the Brown House could look like that too. One of the next things that probably needs to be done is there's gonna have to be some type of driveway put into that. There's a culvert where the driveway was, and it's a pretty steep bank up there. They raised the road up probably 15, 20 feet, so it's gonna be a pretty good bank. I went up at one time in the Gator and scared Cindy to death when the front end went up and the back end stayed down. But hopefully we can get all that started here pretty close. So I'm going to, two more things real quickly. One is, it's going to hurt me to say this, but go Florida over Houston tonight. Go SEC. And
SEC.
Secondly, with Easter coming up, if anybody doesn't have a church they go to or want to do something different, Long Hollow will be having 3 services on Saturday and 3 services on Sunday. So anybody's welcome. Thank you, guys.
I will have to say I'm a volunteer Gator hater, so I can't root for the Gators.
I know it hurt me, but
But you won't see that on my
go SEC.
No, just go Tennessee. How about that? All right, now. All right. Board of the Chairman, Mr. Miller could not be here. She has an uncle who's in hospice, and so keep her in her thoughts and prayers. And I just want to thank you guys for all that you do, all the hard work you put into everything. We're out there slogging it around in rain and creeks and mud and looking at stuff all throughout the county. So your efforts do not go unappreciated or unnoticed. So thank you, and thank you guys from the Finance Department for all your hard work on trying to keep us on track with these grant and ARPA projects. I know it's been like herding cats in a haystack of cats, and so definitely appreciate all you guys' hard work. So that's all. I'll end of my report. Just want to thank you guys. Report of the Finance Director's Office.
So for the archives roof, that project's complete. We're just waiting on the manufacturer inspection. I'm going to reach out to my old work and get the local inspector to come out a little quicker than on their timeline, so we can knock that out. Westmoreland EMS and Oak Grove Fire Department, they're both just waiting on permits. They've been working with the state fire marshal to get all that done, so they're still in that process. But as soon as they get those, they'll start laying the slab for the fire department and start working on the EMS station. I'll skip Franklin Street in the courtroom for the new business for now. We'll just talk about that later. For the water and SWIG stuff, we've got the executed contract amendment. We have a meeting with Westmoreland this week, and right now our subrecipient agreement are sent to our consultant for review. So we hope to get that back, and then we'll get it all situated with Westmoreland and Portland. For the health department, we've got the RFP done. I received the last bit of the plans and specs today. It'll go out for advertisement on Thursday, and May 1st is when our bid opening is. And we'll kind of go from there. I'll kind of hand it off to you for this.
So the health department, we are actually under the gun. We have until June 30th of next year to have a turnkey ready, which means demolition and construction has to occur and be finished at that point in time. Looking at it, and with the bid going out, we're not for sure what price we will get back. The state at one point in time has offered us additional funds. Unfortunately, they have given us funds, but on the downside, if it does come over the budget amount that they have now given us, we would be coming to the county commission and asking for additional funds. We would ask for alternatives to be looked at, but right now there are no alternatives that we can find. but we'll be presenting that to you once we have a clearer picture of what is transpiring on May 1st. Director Klein, I was looking at you. Director Line was looking at other alternatives such as doing rehab work for it or rehabilitating it. If we were to go the renovation route, we don't know if we would have enough time within a year to actually get the work done by doing an RFP, pushing it out there, getting the bids back, and then having it done by June 30th. So there is a time crunch. We are aware of it, and we will keep you abreast of what the next steps will be.
We'll stop right there. Might be some discussion here on this. I had the other question, I guess. So, I've responded to you in emails on this because we were told that there would be no extra cost to the county. ARPA funds we put in, I think $600-something thousand in ARPA funding. The rest was covered by the state. We were told that pretty emphatically. Commissioner Jones shaking his head. And I know it was in this committee. I don't know if it's in budget, but so I guess the question is, do you have an anticipation on how much more it might come over if you're nervous about that, or?
We have no idea at this point in time. It all comes in on the bids.
Well, I guess my question would be, why couldn't the project be rescoped or the architect work on it that we paid to reduce some features or some square footage on it?
Due to the time frame and having to bid it out, you're looking at it being bid out by May 1st and the award letter being June 1st, demolition occurring from June until September, then from September until June 30th, you would be looking at a build out. So if we were to go back and have the architect try to make changes to it, then we would run a closer and tighter time frame of actually not having a turnkey ready.
Mr. Jones?
So if I remember this correctly, this came through Health Emergency Services and this committee simultaneously to make sure it went through as quick as possible, and it sailed through committee because everybody was okay with the fact that it wasn't going to cost us any more than that amount that was stated. And there would have been a lot more discussion, I'm sure, if it was any chance that it was going to cost more. We were guaranteed that it was not going to cost more than that because the state was going to pick up any overage on that. And it just seems like this is the way that this goes. If you want to get more for something, spend more money, just delay the project. And if it gets delayed, it's going to cost more because everything costs more in time. This is not right. The citizens are going to have a fit about this.
Mr. Clyde?
I want to remind the committee we have another option. We're only required to have one health department building in the entire county. This would be 3. We have one in Portland and we have one here in Gallatin. There is the option to can the whole project. Now, we'd be throwing away ARPA money. I understand that. But we do have 2 with another one being built. I'm not suggesting it. I'm just saying it's an option.
Mr. Jones?
With that being said, can we not propose that to the, I may have missed something in your explanation, but can we not propose that to the person bidding the project that we're going to can it if they can't make it come in under this amount of money that we already approved? Make it work, cut wherever you can, make it work. We're not spending anymore.
Commissioner Nunn?
So before we jump up and go down the rabbit hole, May 1st is the opening of the bids?
Yes, ma'am.
So we're looking at 20 days to opening the bids. Would it be feasible? So I'm asking, could we not wait till after the bids are open to see what the amounts that are coming in and then do a negotiation from there? Because right now you're kind of going on if and but maybe. And I think if we have more clear idea of what the contractor is going to bid, then we'll have an idea of what it may come under budget. We don't know that, but to nip it right now, I think that would be a disservice. That's just my opinion.
I agree.
Just to let you know, we'll go through this in 3 parts. To address the bid process right now, besides just us putting it into the newspaper, The state will also be advertising it, and the architectural firm will be also advertising it on different sites as well. So hopefully, we'll be getting more bids than what we normally get. Number two, in regards to scrapping it, just so you all are aware, right now we have spent roughly $357,000 in ARPA funds, revenue replacement. So if you do scrap it, we would incur that cost. There's no way to bill the state for it. So that would fall under our ARPAs. And to address the potential of where the state funding came from, and hopefully it would have covered it all. Based upon conversations with the state, they were hoping that with other projects that would have come in over budget, they would be, or under budget, they would be able to give additional funds to the counties. With this one being one of the later projects that have occurred in the state, unfortunately, the majority of those funds have all dried up, so there's not any funds at this time.
Commissioner Jones.
Perhaps the mayor may be able to speak more to this to help us understand, because I think that's where it came from, that it was gonna be covered by the state. That was the proposition made while we were trying to penny pinch whether or not we were going to fix the old building or renovate the old building or build a new building. Before I go back and pull video to refresh my memory on that, he may be able to add to that. Can we ask him to speak to that, where that came from, that the state was supposed to pay for all of that? Anything over?
I mean, we know that they said they were gonna pay for the balance.
Yeah, but he's saying that they had hoped to, Dustin's saying that they had hoped to pay for it. That's not what was stated to us in committee when we voted through this process. It was they're going to pay for it. Not that they hoped to. I don't think it would have sailed through committee on a hope. It was a guarantee that they were gonna pay for it. That's why it went through committee. That's why we're in this position.
So,
I'm just asking.
so what's your question again?
I want to know if the mayor can speak to some of this to correct the record or explain to us what his understanding was, and if he was told wrong also. Who was he told wrong by? The proposal came from the mayor's position. So I think we need to hold whoever told him that accountable.
Mr. Mayor, do you have anything to add to this, or?
This is the first I'm hearing of it. What I was told when this project was under my office is that they were gonna fund any excess. I don't know what they're doing now. It's under finances authority. It's not under my authority anymore, so I really don't know what they're doing with it now.
Can we ask who told him that? Okay. Who told you that it would be?
So you're looking to our liaison with the mental health department that is actually funding the state funds for it. And so they're the ones that have put it in writing. There are no more state dollars for this project.
So it never was in writing that they were going to cover it?
Not that I can find.
Commissioner Klein.
I know, and if you wanted him to speak to it, he's here, but Hal Hendricks probably knows more about the idiosyncrasies of the actual plans, and I think they've beat this thing to death on a value engineering point. I don't know if there's any more money they can cut out of it.
Ms. Hal here?
Yeah, I make a motion to suspend the rules for Mr. Hendricks to speak to this.
Howard, do you mind come up? All in favor, say aye. Any opposed?
Yeah, what my understanding was the big pot of money statewide was 300 million. And then we got our little percentage. And whatever was not used statewide and whatever bid came in short, came in long. Somewhere along the line, that got changed. So, and it never was, I don't know if it was ever in writing or was just shared. But it was my understanding, and I believe we were in here one night with.
On the phone?
Yeah, on the phone. And then I inquired about it a week or two ago, and then it was so different.
So this is news to you. Have we done all the value engineering we can? Have we cut I know the architect has been beating himself up trying to cut square footage and cut costs. Do you think there's any room for cutting before we go to bid?
The contractors I've talked to are all looking at about 300 a square foot. And we're able to look at 415, 416, somewhere in there. I think, let's just roll the dice, see what happens.
Okay.
If it comes in 450 and we can't within, and we have to sit back, come back and see what we're gonna do. But at this point, what I've understood, Dixon County came in $1 million under, Cheatham County has come under, a lot in the area have come under.
So you're optimistic?
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good. After I talked to a contractor or two, I said, what are you building commercial for right now? And they said 300.
Okay.
So,
All right. I don't think there's no action we can take tonight, so unless anybody has another question for Hal. Anything else? I think, yeah. We'll bring us back in the session. Well, we'll just wait to hear what happens first week of March when we meet again on this. So we'll keep this under on your report, obviously, for May report. Any other questions on that before we move on? Thank you for letting us take a moment there on that one. All right.
For the Brown House, we did receive the $500,000, and we received $87,232.27 of interest.
Okay.
Just waiting on budget to approve.
We passed back in March.
Yes,
Yeah.
but we pushed it
Yeah.
to do what we need to do, and so it should be going this month to budget, and then once that's
Should be
done,
on Monday
we'll,
next week, right?
Yep, and then we'll start the work for the exploratory stuff.
Mm-hmm.
For the Hendersonville Library, I got all the invoices and everything sent over to the mayor. It's in their, he's forwarding that to their finance committee, and then he'll let me know from there.
Okay, perfect.
So that's went all good. The broadband grant, we started advertising on the 3rd. We're doing our opening on the 21st at 10 a.m. So we'll take that from there. And then the Hollows, they're still doing the utility relocation at this time. I don't have an update of when they believe that all that relocation will be done just yet. Obviously, the storms put them a few days behind
Can I ask a question on that?
as of late. but-
Commissioner Jones has a question on that real quick, if you don't mind.
Do we have a timeline on that project yet?
It'll be 9 months after the relocation's done, but they're supposed to be done by April, but with all the storms and stuff going on, they've fallen farther behind.
Is there a project coordinator that you're working with, project manager
Marshall.
for them? Marshall is. Is there any kind of a Gantt chart or any kind of milestone documentation that we're looking for to let people know?
No, but
9 months just seems
I can
up in the
ask.
air, but if there's things looking forward to, I'm sure the citizens would appreciate that.
I'll ask him, have him put something together.
Mr. Klein?
Because I read, I think it was last month, you said all the structures, or maybe you did it in an email, all the structures have been delivered, the prefabricated structures. Is that right?
I don't recall that.
Okay.
I just know that Marshall said that we were supposed to be done by April for the relocation, but they've fallen behind for that.
Okay.
And then it was 9 months after that, but I'll get with Marshall to
The
come
reason
up
I'm
with
asking,
something.
we're 2 years from when we started this project, and it's looking like 3 years before the projected end date of it, and I know that that can get pushed too because of weather. And people just don't understand why stuff like this takes so long.
We didn't appropriate the money for this that long ago, did we?
This was one of the first things we did when we came in office.
2 years?
Yeah,
3 years ago, almost, at least 2 years ago.
two years September, so we're, 9 months from now, we'll be 3 years.
Because I remember, didn't we appropriate like $750,000?
$750,000, like 3/4, yeah.
And that was for the research, or?
No, that was the whole
The
project.
whole project.
Whole project.
And it's gonna end up costing more by the time it's done, that's.
Well, they had to de-scope it a little bit, so, in order to keep it under, so they actually did do that, so no.
I just would like to see a timeline so we could celebrate milestones.
All right, any other questions for Scott on that one?
And that'll be all that I have until we get into
Further down,
new
okay.
business.
All right, report of the county mayor.
Yes, sir. I think it'd probably be best if we could talk about, I reserve my comments for when we talk about the Millersville EMS station. That's all I have.
Okay, yeah,
So we'll just
that's
wait
item
till
B,
then.
so, coming up in a second. All right, old business, item A, do I have a motion for discussion?
Motion to discuss.
Motion for Commissioner Klein. Do I have a second? Second by Commissioner Holmes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so we did hear from Mr. Shamrock that the $500,000 has been received, as well as $87,232.27 in interest from that funding from Vanguard. How was that calculated, I guess? How did you guys come up with that?
I got with finance director, and we just did simple interest year over year.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. All right, that's good. So we have $587,000 to work with.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, Commissioner Jones.
On the interest, was that year-over-year interest that was invested?
It was, yeah, the total investment, and then I applied that interest rate to 500,000 to get that amount for each year. So each year I took what that interest return was, applied it to 500,000.
Did Vanguard have a number that they're?
Vanguard said they can't calculate it.
They're an investment company.
You need to ask that to Vanguard, not me.
Director Settler, do you have something?
I talked to finance director, and he went through the math, and he said it looked reasonable to him.
I would never use Vanguard.
Any questions on that? So, well, I know there's been a lot of discussion now that we have that. We made a motion last month to send it to a budget. I know it's going this month because we didn't need to get it in time just for that. $2,000, I think, for the exploratory, for just ripping out and removing all the subflooring and the wall and the paneling and the AC units, so that we can then discover what's there, what's the bones and meat of this, so then that we can then start formulating a plan and come up with options and different pathways we can take. As part of that process, over the past several months, people have been talking about doing an ad hoc, getting citizens involved. I would like to propose naming an ad hoc. I've had several of you come up to me and asked, want to be a part of that, including citizens. So I would like to make a motion to form an ad hoc for this. If I get a second for that. Second by Commissioner Klein. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I would, without objection, I feel like I would want to do a mix, mainly of county commissioners, but citizens and even a school board member. And I've reached out to several of these people. Mr. McClard has agreed to be on the ad hoc, as well as Mr. Latimer, representing citizens and
Which Latimer?
Jim Latimer.
Jim.
And school board member Stephen King has agreed to be on the ad hoc as well. And I would like to appoint, I know Commissioners Klein have been involved, myself, Commissioner Jones, and Commissioner Miller has asked to be involved as well. So that would make a 7-member ad hoc. Just to clarify, ad hocs, according to our rules, they do last a year, but that doesn't mean they can't be extended past a year. That was a request from Commissioner Hyde when we first got in office to make sure the ad hocs only lasted a year, so they didn't go on in perpetuity behind the scenes and just going on, which is fine. But that does not preclude the fact that an ad hoc can be renewed under the same circumstances. I think there was some discussion previously saying that had an ad hoc, once it was over, you couldn't do it the same. That's just false and not correct. It's not what our rules say or anything else like that. So, so this will be an ad hoc. I guess would need to be renewed in April of 2026 as far as the members. Do you have a question? Eric has something to say too.
He may be getting ready to say what I'm going to ask. I just wanted clarification from our law director, so it's crystal clear on what you just said, that he reaffirms that about ad hocs. Is that what you were getting ready to inject?
Well, I was actually going to interject that we need some specific direction for this ad hoc. So if this is the time you want to indicate what it is this ad hoc's being formed to do.
Yeah, this ad hoc is for the purpose of basically taking the information that we get and researching and coming up with options and plans as far as what the family members would like to see happen with their property, you know, their inheritance basically, and kind of directions of what can be done to renovate and basically bring those options back to this committee. So we're not here discussing it every month as we have been for quite a while. And so that'll be the purpose of the ad hoc, is do the groundwork to give us options of A, B, or C. This is the path we can go here, here, here. Here's the cost associated with it, and do all the exploratory as much as possible, working with Mr. Shamrock and the finance department behind the scenes, and to try to consolidate that process. But it's definitely come up with options in the plan for, now that we have the money, once we get that preliminary pre-construction done to rip out, so we can then, before we can even come up with that plan, we need that to happen. So hopefully that'll pass budget and full permission to be able to do that for such a nominal fee. So, especially since we have the funding for it now to pay for it out of this. So, I mean, that's the directive. It's for that planning, purpose of planning and proceeding with, moving forward for that with the community, so.
You have a first meeting date and time?
I don't yet, so I will let you know, we can notify that. So, my intent is to have all meetings here in this room, as much as possible, unless we need to do a field trip, so. Commissioner Jim?
My question was specifically on the time frame that was stated. I know there's been talk back and forth in different committees on what is allowed, what's not allowed. And I want what you said to be reaffirmed by our law director just for public, so that to put that issue to bed for all future ad hoc meetings.
Well, I mean, I'll restate what I said. Our rules are changed so that an ad hoc lasts a year, but that doesn't mean ad hoc's dead forever. And that doesn't mean it can't be renewed.
It would be reconstituted in same mission.
It's no different than our committees that we go through every year for Gen Ops. The committee doesn't die just because it turns into a year. So
Health and Emergency Services was incorrect.
That's
No,
what I'm saying.
it wasn't, because you had two issues going on there. One was the specificity of the ad hoc and not being able to let that one run because there's really no specificity, and it would need to be reconstituted. That's what my statement was in that one as well, was there would have to be a reconstitution of a new ad hoc committee with specific instructions on
Even
what
if
to
they
do.
are the same specificity?
Yes, you can do that.
it's just renewing.
Okay, so it's just really a one-year review, basically, is what it is.
Correct.
Well, to reconstitute means you gotta take into account the members. Could it be the same members? Yes, but as long as you go through the
Protocol.
procedural process of reconstituting, then you should be fine.
Okay. I just want it stated publicly so
Pro
everyone
rules, the
understands.
ad hocs last a year. That doesn't mean they can't be restarted. It's just the fact that it's just so they don't go on in perpetuity. And you have unknown ad hocs out there like has had happened.
Well,
We've had that happen.
that statement's been used to kill ad hoc committees too. And I wanted to be clear as to what can be done and any easy ways around that if the majority wants to keep it going, that's how to do it. So I just wanted that stated for the record.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, just on that, I think, just to clarify that, since so many things have been misspoken regarding that, so. I will let you guys, I guess, get with members, and I don't know if there's anything to do meeting prior to hopefully budget approving that this month and getting action. So I don't know if we would have anything to meet in this month or even beginning of May, maybe towards mid or late May, but to get something going. I mean, we could go ahead and have a preliminary meeting just to go ahead and chairman, vice chairman, and kind of set the parameters and some goals, do an initial like that, like we've done on other ad hocs like that. So we might, I'll let you know. I'll reach out to all the members and get with Mike and Jim and with the school board member King, and we'll talk about that. Fair enough?
Fair enough.
All
Want
right.
me to vote on those members or is it just appointment?
I appointed them, so. I mean, we can vote on them if you want to. I'll make a motion to approve the members, the slate that I suggested.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Holmes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. All right, so we are going to we'll keep that on old business for now.
Keep it old business.
Yeah, we'll keep this as old business until we meet as an ad hoc. So unless,
Okay.
I'll keep it as old business unless we meet, and then I'll drop it off.
Okay.
I'll work with the office. Item B, discussion, Millersville EMS station reconfiguration status, pages 31 through 43. Do I have a motion?
Motion to discuss.
Motion by Commissioner Klein to discuss, second by Commissioner Janum. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, floor is open. Commissioner Klein.
This has totally blindsided me. Had anybody heard about this possibility that they were gonna need that space?
No, that's new information.
Okay, that's all, okay.
Commissioner Jones?
Yeah, I too was surprised about that. It just brought up some concerns, and they're just questions that need to be thought about and asked. So if they're looking at doing funding full-time firefighters from the city, then they're also looking at funding, being responsible to renovate the facilities for those firemen. And we're wanting to do something to take care of our EMS employees that may interfere with that. So the EMS employees have been neglected for close to a year now. We've been talking about this,
Maybe more.
maybe more, and we may be considering pushing the pause button because their city is looking at doing this. I didn't think they could afford to do this. I'm trying to figure out how they're gonna afford to do this.
Probably tax rate.
That's a lot of positions to create and building to fund, and we're just asking for, some quarters for our employees. It's gonna be mutually beneficial to them, but I don't know where we go with that. It's a lot to think about.
I think, and we can get some input from the mayor on this, but I think we need to buy that trailer right away. Because if we're going to maintain 2 human beings at that facility to run those ambulances, we've already spent $30,000 renting that thing. I don't know what it costs, but I wouldn't think it would have cost $30,000. So it would seem like the prudent thing, because this is Millersville and they've had their share of problems. This could take 2 years for them to, and we don't even know if we'd be included in it as far as sleeping quarters. So it seems to me right now we've got 2 options. Take our people out of there and find some other place to put the ambulance, or keep the trailer that we have there and buy it rather than continuing to rent it.
I do want to ask questions of the county mayor as well as the city manager, so.
No, that's fine. That's all I was gonna go. Maybe they told us what they don't want to happen. Do they have any suggestions on what they would like us to do? Because we do have a challenge, and I don't disagree with you necessarily, but we may have some other options. Go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, would you mind addressing, I guess, what's changed? Because
Yeah,
we're looking at
and,
renovating quarters for the EMS.
Right, and I've got the architect with us that can be in a better position to answer questions, but what we are looking at, and I emailed you a rough schematic, we are looking at building onto the end of it and putting bunks in for EMS. That would be our contribution to the station. They would move the ambulance to that other side, and then they would take the remaining part as their EMS, or as their fire station. They have thought about adding on, but that's coming at a future date. They're working on that with the architect separately, and so that's what they're working on.
When did you send the email?
I just sent the email out with the schematics on it. I thought I'd send it out earlier.
When? Today?
Yeah, I just sent it just a few minutes ago.
Oh, okay, well.
I don't get
Yeah.
my own.
So,
Obviously, we haven't had a chance.
but it's a rough draft that kind of shows it's not any architectural drawings. That will come at a later date. But basically, it's just showing bunks on the opposite end of where they are now. If we consider buying a trailer, we would have to also look at hooking up water to it and some type of sewage disposal for it. Right now, since it was supposed to be temporary, at that point, we just did not hook up any water to it. We did not hook up any bathroom sewage, septic, anything like that to it. We have them, when they have to use the restroom, they go into the building and they come back.
Could that not be continued?
Yeah.
Commissioner Janelle?
I'm new on the committee, fairly new, I'm not new to the commission. I have a question. So when this was decided, I know we had the emergency situation where they were breathing in fumes and we had to get them into a trailer. I got that. So did we have a letter of agreement from the city of Millersville to allow us to renovate their building or add on to it, or did we just decide we were going to do that?
There was
Well, they have gone through a transition. We do not have a formal letter, but they have gone through a transition.
Prior to that,
No.
there,
we did have a Prior to that, with
We
the
had
previous
a-
administration, we did, yes, had an agreement to come and renovate this station.
Yeah.
But was it a letter, like a letter of agreement?
It was.
So doesn't that hold up when,
And we're still doing that.
well, that fella just said that he wasn't gonna be able to do that. You're adding on to
No,
the
they're
building.
not saying that we can't go in and add to that and occupy a part of that with them. We can still have that partnership. They're concerned with the life safety issues of what's there right now, as is the state fire marshal and our architect. They all have concerns with the life safety issues of the
That's
existing
not what
space.
that man said. He said that the firemen, they were gonna need the space for their firemen, and there wasn't gonna be probably enough space for our people, because they need that space for more firemen. I mean, I don't understand.
Yeah, that space, but not that space as a living quarters. Talking about the totality of that space.
Can we suspend the rules to talk to the guy that came up here just a minute
Yeah,
ago?
I'm going to get there, so, yeah, let's make you got a motion for that?
I do have a
I'll
motion.
second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Could we have the city manager from Millersville come up here, please? I do have a question. So were you stating that, because right now, Sumner County EMS are in those two sleeping quarters, correct? In that Bethel Road facility? They got kicked out.
They're in the trailer.
Well, yeah, they were there for 20 years until last year, all of a sudden mysteriously, they can't be there, so I understand for political reasons, but, so looking at.
Actually, it wasn't political, it was state fire
I think
marshal.
it was state fire marshal
Yeah.
that said they couldn't stay there.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, but they
They didn't change the
were there,
codes.
they didn't
Has
change the
nothing to do with
codes.
politics.
It was there they were there for 20 years, so they were,
It
nobody
was a
said
code
anything.
compliance issue.
So I understand, is your current city hall, and the current fire department that was also shut down for, being built wrong to codes, is there anybody staying in that as far as, still in
There's no one staying in that fire hall either.
either, so nobody's staying in either one, there's nobody sleeping in either facility right now?
No, there's
So
not.
what is your intent to make that a sleeping quarters for firemen, or can you explain that a little bit?
Which one are you speaking of?
The Bethel Road facility.
Yes, we're gonna have to make one of the two a fire station with 24-hour firefighters.
How many would you anticipate
Two
on the
on
high
shift.
end? How many-
Two on a shift,
Two on a shift?
yes,
Okay.
24 hours a day.
Okay. So those sleeping quarters could be made code compliant, and that's where you would keep your firemen?
Yes.
Okay.
So is that your intent, to put your firemen, and you guys at Millersville is gonna renovate that space?
We're looking at both stations right now. We've had an architect look at both stations to determine where we can most economically put firefighters. We've had them look at Bethel Road, we've had them look at Fire Station 1, where City Hall is, to see which one we can most economically make suitable for people to stay overnight, for us to have overnight firefighters. So we're looking at both of them.
Commissioner Jennings.
I want to overlay these plans that we were just emailed moments ago to his statements and ask, have you seen the plans that we've been emailed?
I'm not sure what you were emailing.
So, this right here, it shows your existing with the add-on of the Sumner County. Hold on. This right here. Existing apparatus bay and the addition.
Yes, sir, the mayor did show me that.
When did you get that?
I don't remember exactly when it was I got that.
Today? Sometime today?
No, I don't believe it was today. I talked to the architect, and I think he had already done the sketch drawing of it.
Like Friday or last week sometime?
Last-
Sometime last week.
Last week, yeah,
So
Friday.
you were made aware that there was changes to this before we were, and then how much of this would cover both firemen and our EMS workers? Is that what the plan is?
That
Kill
was
two
a-
birds with one stone?
That was a possibility, but again, that's something that I think would be more expensive for us to do, to build onto that.
So, Mr. Chairman, the way I see this is we were originally faced with fixing a problem that we're looking at tens of thousands of dollars to fix. We're proposed a $250,000 addition to a building to fix this code compliance issue. We found a cheaper way to do it, and now it seems like the high dollar way to build a fire station at Millersville is back on the table. Am I reading this wrong? Everybody's shaking their heads at the table.
Any more questions for him? Or, because we're getting into discussion debate, so.
Well, I mean,
So if you have any more questions for him.
no, I guess that's all. I just want to know when he got the information and why we didn't have it before he did. We should have been talking about whether or not this was an option before he was even presented this plan. We're being told we can't do what we wanted to do as a committee, and he already knew another way to do it because he was talking to other people. That just doesn't seem right. I'm very frustrated by that. If anybody else wanted to ask questions about that,
Yeah, you get your questions answered.
Yeah, so basically, what I understood was that your fire hall, say it's Bethel, let's just talk about Bethel.
Okay.
So Bethel is, you're comfortable with the county taking part of, or adding on to your count, it's a city building.
It's a city building, yes.
City building, us spending money to build your building. But are we gonna, I'm confused as to, part of your building is gonna have quarters for the firemen, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And then they wanna add on to your building for the EMS, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so,
Mr. Mike, let me help you out a little bit.
Okay.
If
This is our fire chief, Brandon
I
Williams.
can help just really quickly, to make it a little bit more clear.
You guys-
We're talking about two different
Hold on,
things.
brother. Suspend the rules to allow the fire chief to speak.
Suspend the rules and allow the fire chief to speak.
We have a second. All in favor, aye? Any opposed?
Just to clear up just a little bit, I apologize. I've worked a lot on this project for a little bit. Pretty well what we're talking about doing is adding some additional firefighters. Whether we put them at Station 1 at City Hall or Station 2 on Bethel Road is an option we're looking at today. But in a year from now, we need 2 more. So no matter what, we're gonna have firefighters at both stations within a year or 2. We're, excuse me, the project that the EMS is talking about is adding on to the end of the building. One of the reasons that has come up is because the current building as it sits does not function. You would have to do some construction to it, as I know Mr. Klein has looked into, that would, change that setup there. What I'm looking at doing is if I take that additional space, I'm actually taking out an entire bay and adding on quite a bit of square footage, taking out the old bedrooms and building new ones to code because the ones that are currently there do not meet code. So it's a much bigger project, and we have nothing to do with the EMS side. Like, we're not trying to move in with what y'all build. We're not trying to make money off of you. That is an entirely different project than what we were talking about. Now, there is a chance that we may add on to that building in the future, which I have asked EMS to make sure that whatever construction you would do, that would allow us to add on to your project, because we may want to expand. Our problem is right now at Bethel Road, you're right, EMS moved in 20 years ago. When they moved into the only day room, the only kitchen, the only living quarters that is at this station. So what's different about Millersville than some other areas is, like Hendersonville and Gallatin and some other cities, is EMS is a part of the fire station. There's multiple things going on. What's happened at Millersville is Bethel Road is an entire EMS station that Millersville has owned for all these years. Millersville's paid the bills, Millersville's done everything. EMS has lived there and paid a part of the bills for a couple of years. But EMS has taken over the entire area, and we store fire trucks there. So like during bad weather, bad storms, snow, all these different things we've had come up, where normally a fire station, we send firemen up there to stand by, there's nowhere for my guys to go. There's no TV to watch, there's no room to go sit in, there's a kitchen, but it's very small. 6 people can't fit there, or even 4 from EMS. 2 EMS guys barely fit. So we're just asking to get the fire station space back so we can grow like the rest of the county.
so I have a question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
So you have a trailer house there that has EMS in it.
Camper, yes, ma'am.
So is it in a place that's gonna have to be relocated if you decide to do construction?
No, ma'am, it can stay exactly where it is, and, of course, we'd always prefer the camper, the guys are out of the camper sooner than later, any way possible. Any way we can do to facilitate that, we will.
When did you become the chief of Millersville?
Just December.
Okay.
Everything changed in December for us. We have a new city manager, we have me now,
Yeah.
a new county commission started all around that same time.
Because last time we talked, you were the
I was at the volunteer fire department, yes, sir.
Yeah.
I got promoted.
Okay. All right, that's all the questions I have for Brad or anybody else.
All right, we'll bring us back into session.
Thank you.
I have a question or a statement.
Commissioner Klein.
I'm looking at these plans, and they're done by the architect workshop, who is the same architect doing Westmoreland and Oak Grove. And these have a date of February 24th, 2025. So this has been going on longer than this week.
Longer than Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been going on for a while, and I have been trying to get bids to bring y'all the full package, and unfortunately, I've just not been able to get all the bids in and share everything, so I just went ahead and sent this over, and I'll send the bids in as soon as I get them. That way, we'll have a full package to discuss.
Well, Mr. Chairman, we got another Hendersonville library issue here, because we'll be spending a whole bunch of money on an extension. And there's kind of two ways to look at it. I don't know when they're going to need their 2 full-time firemen, or spaces for their 2 full-time firemen. We've got 2 bedrooms that we've been using for 20 years that have a fairly minor code compliance issue. So we could do that work, and they could do the extension and build onto their building in any way they see fit. But I'm having a hard time as a county commissioner representing my district to spend, I don't know how much money. I mean, we'll know when the mayor brings bids in on a building that we have no right to, no ownership of, but who knows at the end of the day what we're going to be left with as far as liability and responsibility. I don't know. I'm kind of back if we should buy the trailer and just kind of see where this thing lands, because we're spending $2,500 or $2,800 a month on this trailer, and this could go on for a while before we've negotiated through who is responsible for what and what the design is going to. I mean, I know the architect is good and he could make this happen really fast, but I know how the wheels of government work, and they move pretty slow. So I'm a bit at a loss. This is news to all of us at this table, except maybe the mayor, and I'm not sure what to do with it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It's a little bit of, I'm the commissioner that represents the area and was unaware of any until tonight, so a little disappointed in that. So, especially being chairman of this committee. And just looking at the optics, it just doesn't look good, to be honest with you, Mr. Mayor. You brought a proposal in here several times to renovate that building for $250,000, knowing we have quotes to do it at less than $25,000. Seems a convenient way to get that $250,000 price tag on that. So I mean, I just optics look back.
Unfortunately, the option of the $25,000 is not a viable option.
Well, not
Fire
anymore.
marshal has said that it's not a viable option to do it that way. Now Millersville has said this is their fire station, and this is the way they want it done. If we want to do it that way, we can do it. We can build on, or we can vacate and build another EMS station up in Millersville. But we do have to work with the city of Millersville on this, and they do not want us renovating those bedrooms.
Well, I understand. We just learned that tonight for the first time. So this is new information. But I'm just saying it's been out there for several months, a proposal to do a $250,000 add-on, and which everybody at this table has not been agreeable with that. And last month, we asked you to bring back, whatever the option was, then we can de-scope it, because that's the role of this committee, saying, okay, no, we can renovate that. Conveniently, now, we have Millersville showing up, and
This
it's saying,
is
we
the
don't want you in this space anymore, so now we only have two options: go with the original plan of spending $250,000 or more, or vacate the premises and go somewhere else. So, I mean, that's kind of what we're faced with. I'm just saying, it's just.
That was the meeting that we had last week, and the optimum time to bring it to you is at this meeting, and have everybody here.
February 24th.
February 24th.
Yeah, so again, new information, so I guess there's nothing for us to do on that right now. Anything we would do, we would have to have a new MOU with the city of Millersville before we agree to anything at this point. So we'll have to take a look at that another time. So we're just going to keep this under old business without any objection. All right, item D, a motion for discussion. Children or people building properties.
Motion to discuss.
Motion by Commissioner Klein, second by Commissioner Jones. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. I'll start us off. I was not at the meeting, the joint meeting. My apologies. I got called in for work, out of town for a week in another state. I did have a chance to read through the packets and the PDFs and the PowerPoint presentations that were given to me. And so I don't really have any questions. To me, this seems to be a pretty clear-cut and dry option to me. One is, and I think this was discussed in your committee, Commissioner Young, the options are, is do nothing, keep the property, you give away the property, you could lease the property, we could sell the property for what the comptroller is saying the value that Dustin, it should be in the packet, the email from Dustin, around $186,000. That's what the comptroller has stated it is. Or we could do an appraisal and figure out what a different value is of the property. And if we wanted, we could put it to bid or for auction to the highest bidder. There's a lot of different things that could happen with this. I'll just say I'm in favor personally of offloading this property. I don't have a problem at all of partnering with the Prevention Coalition and the Circuit Court and to try to help them get into this facility. I guess it's kind of three different organizations. Seems like four, but you got Recovery Court, you have the Recovery Court nonprofit, and then you have the Sumner Prevention Coalition nonprofit. If I'm correct on that, correct me if I'm wrong. And so I know, just to recap my understanding, so you guys correct me if I'm wrong for the public, that the Sumner Prevention Coalition, that's where the opioid money would really be going to matching for purchasing the Children Are People, this specific parcel, which then once, if they are given to at least, or I guess even bought it or give it to them, one or the other. If they own the property, they would then want to subdivide it so that the Recovery Court Inc. could take that house to either renovate it or tear it down to turn it into some kind of facility for individuals who are struggling with these types of addictions. And then obviously another component that's not a part of this, but as Judge Blanton's put in his presentation that I did read through and talked about, and we do have those schematics here that we'll talk about in a little bit.
That's the actual courthouse schematics.
This is the entire thing. This is just the recovery court.
Yeah, I don't think, are we there yet?
No, we're not, but I'm just saying
okay.
this is, but again, this was part of the packet, the presentation from opioid of what we saw last month, or you guys observed. So I know that as part of that recovery court nonprofit, they would want to come over into this as well. And I know I've seen the letters, I guess, from the city of Gallatin. They have no problem, and the Prevention Coalition has no problem working with Gallatin for any kind of lease agreement for whatever storage they need for that parking lot. So I know there's questions about, some commissioners have concerns and different opinions on what they want to do for the property. They want to sell it to the highest bidder, which is, I understand that position. I just see this one of those things. This is a way, one, to keep high-rises and apartments going in there. It's going to exacerbate our development problem. If you allow something like this to go, it's a better use of that property, in my opinion. Partnering with them, I know they spend about 30 grand a year. How much was it a year? 30 grand a year? On rent and utilities and
Yes, sir.
30 grand a year for these things. I know that would at least 20 grand or more, 23 grand, I think, is just in rent for these groups, for the two different organizations, the Prevention Coalition and the Recovery Court Inc., I'll say, for, I know that's not the full nonprofit name, so forgive me. But I know that some people have asked about having appraisal and getting that on the property. Appraisals are expensive. I know it's going to be a couple $1,000s, I'm sure, but we can recommend that budget. We wanted to push out the budget for that. I'm just saying, I'm kind of laying the groundwork on. I might make a motion here and wait for you guys too, but I would like to just see us proceed with some type of moving forward with selling the property to them for that $186,000, you know, dependent upon an appraisal and possibly some type of buyback clause, first right of refusal, or reverter, to make sure that they're not going to take this and sell it for $1 million to a developer or something that's abandoned. Or should this ever be abandoned, it comes back to the county free and clear, or it comes back to the county for the price we sold it for, something like that. So that would be the only, I guess, things I would throw out there as a caution to ensure that this isn't just going to be offloaded once it's out of the county. Because I think the county got it from the school board in '88. If I'm not mistaken, I think Dustin, your email said that.
That sounds about right.
That's in our packet, so you can free to look and check the numbers. But I think that's for the nominal fee of $10, the county acquired that property in 1988. I don't know how the school board acquired it before, or the purchase history, or the value, or, or if there's any taxpayer money in this at all. I don't know. Right now, all I can see is that there's no been taxpayer money been allocated to the purchase of this property to date. That's all I can see based on the records. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong there. I don't know. Mr. Lauder.
I would like to point out I had to do a title search on this because reverters kept coming back up. And just a little history here. This parcel is now a single parcel, was 3 tracts. Of those 3 tracts, one of the tracts at a minimum has a reservation and restriction, and it says it shall be used as a public health center in the event that same is not used for such purpose or ceases to be used for such purpose, then the title to same shall revert to the city of Gallatin. The Gallatin is the one that conveyed it to the school board, who conveyed it to us. So I just want...
Is that in our packet, or is that?
No, I just found this before the meeting.
And you said that was 1/3 of the property?
It's at least 1 track. I haven't got to... This was back in 1940. So I haven't, the other 2 tracks I'm still trying to piece back, but that's still a cloud. But the benefit is I don't see any problem with sandwiching all of this use into the public health arena. So that actually helps us, so that if that's the only restriction or reverter, then that's all we're asking them to do anyway. And then we can put in another reverter that parallels this one, and if it comes back to us, but we were always supposed to be using that for health purposes, for a health center.
But you don't know which part of the 3 parcel, and is it 2 parcels now?
There's 3 tracts that got consolidated to 1 parcel.
It's 1 acre.
So basically, if something happened, that whatever that 1/3 of the parcel would get parceled back out.
And I
revert
have
back
not
to Gallatin.
identified a plat to show you which part of that property it is.
And did you say the city of Gallatin gave that to the county, or you sold it?
Well, it was a $10.
Okay, so
Gave it to us.
Sumner County, as far as we know, we don't know whoever paid for that money, but it was prior to 1940, somebody paid for that parcel. Okay, well, just want to clarify that, just since we do have a fiduciary responsibility here and looking through those avenues. Okay, well, that's good news.
And I would want to restate it on any transfer anyway, so nobody loses track of this and gets blindsided like we did on it.
Sure. Commissioner Jones.
I thought I heard somebody say at the beginning that the opioid committee did not get to meet on this after our joint meeting. Is that true?
We had our joint meeting, and then we had a meeting last week, but we had tornadoes and floods. So as the chairman, I did not feel comfortable making people come and be in danger. So I canceled the meeting, and we have another one April 23rd we're scheduling.
So I wanted to ask that at the beginning. Is any decision or vote come out of this
Well-
not really valid until that happens?
Well, when we had our joint committee, we talked about the option that we liked. We didn't really vote on it. It wasn't a voting meeting. So we talked about the option of giving them the opportunity to buy the building for what he said, the grant money and their match, okay? So about $189,000 came to. And so instead of giving it away, because that doesn't give you performance metrics as far as, we're gonna do good, we're just gonna take it and turn it into a rat hole. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that was where we were with it, but we said we'll send it to general ops to vote on whether what option they wanna do is, we send it to general ops to take care of it, cause we're under budget.
For this meeting here?
Yeah.
Okay, so we are
you're
able to
right.
make a decision tonight.
Yeah, so
Okay.
you can make the decision tonight, and I would say encourage, once we get the weeds and all that pulled out of the situation, that, our option, this is separate from the fact, to me, it's separate from the fact that it's a different issue. The price, the option of getting the building for the group is a different issue, so we vote on whether we want to agree to sell it to them for that.
Well, yeah, our decision could clean all that up.
Correct.
Yes.
So that's, if we vote to go forward with it, and I want to add to what Commissioner Mansfield said, we have, not only is it a fiduciary opportunity, it may not be as much as everybody thinks the building's worth, but the outcome of what that can be done there, and the work that can be done can save the county tons of money in the future, because you're looking at incarcerations being decreased, hopefully less drug overdoses, all that stuff, and adding to what he also said, they can bring all these groups from everywhere. All these groups can come there and do their work, and that makes it all like a central location it's a one-shot for everybody. And when you think about mental health, I'm not going to belabor on this, but if you have a place that you can get to that's not, I might have to go to that building over there or that building over there this time, your fallout from a program is greater. So if you're able to go to one place and do your one thing for your different programs, your opportunity for being a positive outcome is great. And that's a win on the county. It shows that, number one, we care about the people here, regardless of whether they have an addiction problem or not. And it shows that we have a buy into the money that was forwarded to us from the state for opioid abatement. Because that was a gift from the state for us to use that money for a purpose that met the guidelines of the opioid program. We have specific guidelines. So by the county receiving the funds, I will tell you, we're pretty much the #1 in the state of Tennessee for our opioid program. So we're shining because we're doing what's right. And not that I'm trying to belate everything, but I'm trying to help you understand that if we put restrictions on everything that we do with this program, and their ability to get grants and other things to do their work there, if you have a lot of, if we don't sell it and if you lease it, they may impede their grants because they don't have a match, they don't have seed in the game. So I think that what we decided was, instead of giving it away, because that would allow a lot of other people to be wanting to get things given to them, we decided that it would be better for them to put money in the bucket. And they said, course, people say things, you know, that their intention was never to do anything that they were gonna be there for years, because this is gonna go on forever. I mean, addictions are not gonna go away. So that's what we understood. But the biggest big thing is what you're saying is right. If we agree to move forward and allow them to buy the building, then this takes care of that, because it is health education. It falls right in the bucket of education for health.
No, I got you. I was asking a question, but the other 2 points I wanted to make was from that joint meeting. The 2 things that seemed like everybody was hung up on that could make it sail through was solving what you said, the first right of refusal or reverter clause. So I support everything that you said in your comments. And I wasn't gonna cut you off at all, but you weren't selling me on anything because I was already on board. But thank you for saying it. It was all good information that everybody needed to hear, because it was good. So.
Yeah.
Lauder?
I just want to be very clear, though, and it's probably better that this happened before your Gen Ops meeting, but really the only thing here is, are you willing to divest the property, and under what terms do you want to do it? Opioid committee will take care of the rest.
And that's the job of this committee. I mean, it's not their job to go through that process. I mean,
So they'll
to
take
answer
care
your
of the
question,
reverter clause and all that?
no, that's our job.
No, we'll take
No.
care of that here.
To answer your question, it's the job of this committee to do everything you're asking, not opioid.
Okay.
That's just to clarify. Dustin?
From the finance department's point of view, if you're looking at the parcel of land when talking with Director Line, one of the things you may want to consider is subdividing the parcel first. That way you could put the reverter clauses on both parcels of land, because right now we're looking at the parcel as a whole, and therefore it would maybe only subject to the not-for-profit being Sumner Prevention Coalition.
What's wrong with it running for the whole piece?
One of the things that he discussed was maybe trying to sell both of the properties and putting it that way if you wanted to. That way you would have the 2 tracks. That was it. And that was from a meeting earlier today.
It's my understanding that one entity wants to use something to benefit another entity.
I believe the pause for concern was if we put the reverter clause on it with the right of first refusal, if we put that in there and gave it to the Prevention Coalition and they turned around and tried to subdivide it, would we lose the ability to get it back from the other entity?
The cleanest way to do this is I keep the language that it be used as for public health purposes. I put it on the whole plat. And if I do that and they do want to parcel it out, as long as it keeps getting used in that fashion, everything's fine. And then we've got a grab on everything.
Okay.
So as soon as it stops being used for that, even after being subdivided, then it comes back to the county.
Reverts.
They're all shaking their heads yes. I'm good with it.
Well, I know they're fine.
What kind of restrictions would, because these are 2 different organizations. I understand they're working hand in hand. What kind of restrictions, one wants to use a lot of volunteer people to renovate. The other wants to tear down a building and build something for unwed mothers.
That's not our problem.
It's just, as long as whatever they're doing
It is if
meets-
there's a reverter clause.
No, not if we're just using the public health as the use of the property.
Think about a hospital there if they wanted to, or an ambulance station, or a fire station, or a drug clinic, or a pill dispensary, or an AED clinic. Just, I'm going to shock you.
And that puts the burden of the build out on them.
So Eric, earlier today we talked about reverter versus right of first refusal. And I thought we were thinking the right of first refusal was a simpler, cleaner way to go. Are you still feeling that way, or now you're back at the
No,
reverter?
because this really isn't a reverter. This is it's more of an exclusive use clause, and it's saying, yeah,
like a deed
you have this
restriction,
to
isn't
do
it?
whatever you want with it. But you see it a lot with churches. They'll donate property to churches, people will, and they'll say, this property can never have alcohol sold on it. You can't dance, you can't play instruments or whatever. And if that happens, it reverts back to the
Baptist and
family.
Church of Christ. Just so
But
you
if
know.
you don't do that,
Just-
it's yours
just
to
saying.
do with as long as you want. So this keeps us in the game, but it doesn't cause us to come back and be in some bidding process or sale process or anything. If say they need bigger acreage at a later date, when they sell that property, that's gonna be on there that whoever they sell it to has to use it for public health purposes.
So it's not really a deed restriction,
It is a deed
It is a
restriction.
deed restriction.
It's just not a right of first refusal.
Okay.
He has new information today that he just found out that just changes all the.
Yeah, I know,
conversation.
since we talked.
Pretty much it's restricted, and if they don't use it for that, it comes back to us free and clear. No matter if they paid $1 million for it,
Okay.
it's come back to us.
Well,
and it's not
that's
used for
pretty
medical
clean.
purposes.
That's it.
I like it.
Is that a pretty accurate summation? Okay.
I vote yes.
Motion to suspend the rules for Judge Blanton to speak.
I wanted to just.
All in favor, say aye. Any opposed?
Sorry. I just wanted to make clear that Recovery Court, Inc. was going to betroth this from the Prevention Coalition at no cost to demolish the house and get a grant to demolish the house and rebuild it. If you're gonna sell that to the Recovery Court Foundation, that changes the whole ballgame, because that's not ever been discussed until tonight.
No, I think we moved past that.
So I just
We're
want to make
just
sure.
saying we'll convey the property,
Okay.
lock, stock, and barrel. What happens after it's purchased?
I got you, but the comment from finance was to divide the property pre-sale, pre whatever we do with it, and if you do that, and you're gonna sell both tracks, it kind of defeats the purpose for the Recovery Court Foundation.
That's why I'd rather do it this way, because I'll be honest, it's less expensive for the county to do it this way. It puts the burden on the purchaser.
Sure. And because we can get, if we have the land, and we can get grants to build it, the state has told us they'll give us a grant to build the house.
As
there
long as
for-
we can justify public health purposes, we're fine.
Absolutely.
I'll bring us back in session. So again, it's almost the same thing as what happened with Gallatin when they gave us that property. It's been merged. It doesn't make a difference. If we don't use it for health purposes, that third goes back. It gets unmerged. It's the same
Well,
thing
we're
here.
actually going a step further. We're locking all of them.
Correct, but I'm just saying, the same thing happens here. If it's not used for that, then it comes back.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, it's amazing to me
So-
that it was combined without this reverter clause, or this deed restriction being noticed.
I'm gonna make a motion that we move forward with selling this based with a recommendation for an appraisal from budget, send it to budget, knowing that if an appraisal comes out differently than what the comptroller said, that we would have to write off the other half, or that portion as a nonprofit donation, that anything over their appraisal value. And anything else I need to add for that?
With the contingencies that he's gonna write.
And,
You want the appraisal?
No, I think,
well, do we need it? I mean,
You've already set a price.
Yeah, $189.
but I mean, you keep on telling, everybody said they want appraisals, so.
I didn't,
I saying, I just need somebody to tell me yes or no, so.
No,
we don't need
no
no
need.
appraisal.
Costs money.
That costs money, and we already know what they were told they could get it for. It's on the December appraisal, and then it jumped, we know what, there was a little bit of a weirdo thing going on there between December and March. So I would say we stick with the 189, what's on that paper from December.
It's not 186.
Or 186.
The reason I was adamant about it was if we went market.
Well, we don't know how this is gonna fly from the floor or fly from the budget. I'm just saying.
And I can always do an appraisal
I'm
and
just-
let but if you want one, I'll do one.
I just know that if we agree to this pre-purchase price, and this is our motion to move forward to that $186,000, let's say that it comes, it's worth $200,000. You've got that $14,000 difference that you have to write off as a nonprofit donation at that point, right? I mean, as far as like a fair market value, would that not be more of a nonprofit? You're giving, if you're selling something under what maybe value might be, wouldn't that partly be a nonprofit write-off for a balance if you got in a situation?
In the private practice, an estimate or evaluation was a starting point. You can litigate the value of land all day long because no two pieces are the same. And if it was that close 14, I'd say call it a wash. But if you're talking a couple $100,000 difference,
It's a couple $100,000.
yes,
So
you
at
would
that point,
have to account for that.
as far as a nonprofit donation, a write-off for that whatever that perceived value was in order to keep it clean. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm just trying to keep things buttoned up here. Because you're gonna have some commissioners saying, well, I wanna sell this and I don't wanna give it away.
Probably, yes.
Well, that we need to say to them, I know what I'd say.
Or I wanna sell it like to the highest bidder for a developer to come in and build apartments.
Yeah, I have something to say.
Commissioner John, go ahead.
So, what he's saying about the deed restriction and what they're wanting to pay for it, we're really, in a roundabout way, kind of renting it to them. You know, because if you change the scope of what they're doing, it still comes back.
Well, you know what, I'll forget what I just said before. I had a memory relapse about what you just introduced here, the fact that it can only be used for this purpose, so it really would be a waste of time and money to do an appraisal at this point.
Okay,
since it can
I'll
only be
second
used.
your motion.
All right, so,
Plus, I think as far as the disposition of the property, I think as far as counties go, you've got a little bit more latitude on how you can do that.
well,
You're not
true,
going to be held
but
to a commercial.
I'm trying to think
thing.
through all the arguments here, but I forgot. Momentary lapse, my apologies, that you just introduced this new piece of information about, from that deed restriction, that really changes the entire discussion paradigm,
It does.
my opinion, if you guys
It
feel
can
the
only be
same.
used for certain things.
So my motion is to move forward with negotiations to sell this property to the Sumner Prevention Coalition for the 186, which opioid is giving 100 grand, I think, or looking to give 100 grand, and they're going to match the other. Is there anything else I need to add to that motion?
Do we need to have the word negotiate in there, because didn't they already offer to pay that?
They did.
We just, from this.
Or is that important?
From this committee, we just need to authorize the sale. They can navigate the waters with Dustin as far as how that money gets there.
Well, that's my motion, is to move forward with negotiating and navigating the sale, knowing that we have those deed restrictions due to healthcare or medical type facility in perpetuity on that property.
With the reverter, just to be clear, what we're motioning is the sale of this Winchester location for $186,000 with the reverter provision to the Sumner Prevention Coalition.
And yes, and Commissioner Jones seconded it.
Okay.
Is there any more discussions or questions? Any questions? Commissioner Moss, any questions? Commissioner Holmes? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
What's the email?
All right.
I
New
need
business.
some contact info
Yay.
for them.
Do you think y'all have contact information you can give to the county
Eric,
attorney?
I got it. We're
Can you
good.
give contact info to the county attorney?
Dustin has it.
Thank you.
All right, new business. Item A, discussion Health Department ELC funding. Hal, did you want to speak to that? No?
It's gone.
Oh.
It's gone. It was, cut, so.
All right, well,
Mark through it. And
we're going to remove that from the agenda. But I did promise you I'll put you in first on new business.
Yes, no problem, no problem.
So at least I got you first. It started took us an hour and a half still to get you. All right, that's all good. Was there anything else that we had for you on here, Hal? Or I don't think so.
Hey, Jeremy, did we skip over proposal for grant funding presentation? Is that from the
That's from
judge?
recovery.
No, this is all recovery court.
That's different than the Weak Children or People Bill.
The proposal
Okay.
It's all
grant
under
fund.
D though.
It is, okay. That was my mistake then.
Do we need to handle it now or later?
So I guess I just included that as part of the packet because I got the email and that was all part of the all stuff.
It's not part of the Children or People building.
Correct. I knew that was something separate, so that was just, it was all lumped in with that same, it was a part of that joint meeting, correct?
It was, but it was treated as two separate matters at the joint meeting.
Gotcha.
Do we need to handle it now?
Well, my question is, I don't know, so this is the proposal. I don't know what I guess I'll make a motion for discussion on the last bullet point of item D of old business.
Second.
All right, do I have a
second.
all in favor say aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so let's discuss that. Commissioner Nung, or Dustin, where are we in the process, or what's the opioid committee's position on the $500,000, I think, that's being discussed as far as allocating towards this?
So there's two purviews that are going on right now. Number one, I will be going in front of the opioid abatement committee coming up on April 23rd. The $500,000 is supposed to come out of payment number 2 check to be discussed to potentially give it to recovery court. I'm going to ask them to swap it to payment number 3. That way it gives us longer time for discussion. And number 2, at this point in time, as Judge Blanton can tell you, he did submit a request in front of budgets, under his budget for capital funds.
Hold on, hey guys, do you guys mind going out in the hall talking? I'm just having a hard time hearing up here, thanks.
So the question will be, will the budget committee actually honor his request, or will we need to potentially use opioid abatement funds? So at this point in time, I do not have an answer, because his meeting is April, I believe Judge Blanton said was 29th.
Or April 30th.
April 30th. So I won't know exactly what budget intends to do until after that time period.
Gotcha. I don't think there's any action for us to take on this at the time. And this is actually going to be part of my discussion on F anyway, a little bit. So without any further discussion, I'm going to move on from this one. That's okay. All right, disposal of surplus county property, item B, under new business. We have a motion. Motion by Commissioner Jones, second by Commissioner Holmes. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right. Item C, replace the heat pump at the archives building. We have a motion for discussion.
Motion to discuss.
Got a motion by Commissioner Klein. Do I have a second? Second by Commissioner Janung. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Dustin, was there anything, or Scott, that we needed, anything here to take action on? Or, Commissioner Klein?
As I understand from the documents, and maybe the mayor can help us here, we had a geothermal unit up on that roof. Those are not available according to the documentation anymore. So we had to convert it to something else.
We're converting a traditional heat pump.
Do you know how many tons we're talking about?
I don't remember the exact tonnage, I apologize.
Yeah, because it seems horrendously expensive for, they're not big units.
Yeah, they're not, but that's the current price. And we were only gonna fix one, but with finances asked that, I guarantee that another one won't go out, because they're lumping this, if we do more than one, they're starting to lump it as a project. And so we figured we'd go ahead and make it a project and get all of those done at one time with the money that y'all have already allocated for them. And that way we have only one engineer's report, because we're gonna have to expand the electrical in there, because the electrical will not handle more than 3 units under the heat.
Okay, so we're replacing all those HVAC units up there?
Those 5 on that side, yes. They're all scheduled to be replaced. We were just waiting for them to go out. I just don't know when they'll go out. I wanted to replace them one at a time, but.
Well, the crane is gonna be expensive to get them up there, but
Yeah.
it just, you know, those units are commercial units. They could, I mean.
They may last another year, may last 2 years.
Or 10 years.
Or they may go out next week. I can't guarantee that.
Right. Okay, so I missed that, so we're replacing 5 units and it's $16,000 for 5 units, is that what?
Oh, no, I don't know where that price came from. I don't have a price yet. Did I get the?
On page 142, Marshall requested a proposal from the engineer to prepare a bid package of specifications to replace the 3 remaining HVAC units on the archive building.
Okay, so 2 of them have been replaced already?
There should be 5. I'll have to double check with Marshall. I may have incorrect information. We've replaced one, and now another one is out. So.
And that's the geothermal one?
Yes. Yeah, and it's just not feasible to replace it with geothermal. They can't find the units.
It says on page 141, from Director Loring, the county replaced 1 unit this year, I guess meaning 2025 already. And then Finance has received a request to replace the 3 additional units. So 1 has been replaced, 3 more were requested by Marshall Boyd on Friday, March 7th, and that's on page 142 of your packet. And we don't. But we do not know the cost of these. As of March the 7th, a month ago, had a big package and specifications. So I don't know where we're at in that process for that bid package. Is that?
Okay, on page 143, item 3, it says, this is the second unit replaced this fiscal year, and the combined cost will be more than $25,000.
Okay, so that's, obviously there's one in this calendar year been replaced, it looks like, when he was saying that one email, the fiscal year, so that's been since July 1st.
There were some Derryberry estimates.
Derryberry.
So there's your 5 number. 2 have been replaced and 3, they're requesting 3 more.
Can I ask,
Commissioner Jones.
is this because of age?
Well, they're aging out, but it's, the reason why we're gonna go ahead and replace all of them is economies, because I can't guarantee that another one's gonna go out or it's not gonna go out. And what they're wanting to do is they're saying it's now lumping together as one project. What I wanna do is just replace them as they go out, but we can't do that with finance. So we have to, he's lumping it together as one project. If you do more than one in the year, he's calling that a project, not an individual unit.
Because of the threshold of architect fees? Is that what you're talking about?
Well,
Projects?
because he's saying that replacing those units up there, it could look as though we're staging them to avoid an architect fee. Remember, we talked about re-roofing that in sections to avoid architect?
Yeah,
Well,
but-
he's applying that methodology to the air units.
Well, so hang on.
Go ahead.
Go, Commissioner.
So, but things that have a maintenance track record, and you can verify, you know, their longevity and look at their history of maintenance, you can see a unit going out and justify the need for replacing it. You could preemptively just replace them all because of age, but you could get rid of units that could have had, like we said, 5, 6, 7, 8 more years left in them, 10 more years. You never know. I had a air conditioner from 1984 that finally went out 3 years ago, and I finally replaced it. I know they don't build them like they used to, but preemptively planning to do that, to replace all of them at the same time, just doesn't sound like a good use of taxpayer money. I mean, if it was spare no expense, that's one thing. But then on the other hand, they're gonna age out at the same time too. It's better to stagger equipment so that it is budgetable over time to replace 1 or 2 every few years rather than replace 3 every 10 years or however long they last. Yeah, I'd like to see the maintenance record on them like we looked at when we first came into office.
Mhm.
There was, how many of them were slated to get replaced? There was tons of them. We found out if we would have replaced them that the federal emission standards were getting ready to change within months, and we would have bought units that were going to expire. The coolant was going to be
Changed
the wrong
again.
coolant within
Yeah.
6 months. There was going to be a new coolant.
Well, not only that, but there were mistakes made on some, like the Westmoreland Library said that those units were, I don't know, very old, and I went up and took pictures of them, and the dates, they were only a year or 2 old. So, you know, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to know if there were any other prices given. I've used Derryberry for years, and sometimes they give great prices, and sometimes they just stick it to you. And
Well, as far as I can see, there's been no prices given at all.
well, on page 151, we have an estimate by Derryberry to replace a 3-ton unit for almost $20,000. That's a lot of money for a 3-ton unit.
That was the one we were replacing one, and yeah, they were the low bid. Derryberry was. We had 2 other bids on that project, but when we're lumping together, we don't have any bids. And, you know, and I agree with you 100%. I'd rather do them one at a time. It doesn't make sense. But since it's being interpreted as a project, I have to guarantee that none are gonna go out for the rest of the fiscal year. And I can't make that guarantee, and no one can, at this table, can make that guarantee.
Dustin, can you, I guess, I don't understand the logic there on air conditioning units being a project, either architectural bid. I mean, it's like versus, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, when we have 3 units that aren't broken, but we're being asked to replace them. So help me understand.
That one, I'm gonna have to wait and confirm with the Director Loring on that one. That was not brought up in our discussion today before the meeting, so I can't give you actual information on how to proceed.
So I guess why was Marshall trying to say we need 3 new air conditioning units? Does anybody know?
No.
Yes, because our office could not guarantee that another one will not go out before the end of the fiscal year. Therefore, we have to have an architect involved in it because it's breaking a $50,000 threshold. It's gonna be counted as a project if another one goes out.
Because this is saying, because if a 3rd unit goes out, it has to be replaced in the fiscal year, it counts as a project. I guess.
And if we just
I'm gonna need
replace,
some more clarification.
It's not a.
if we
It's not a
replace this
unit,
one,
it's a
which is,
monetary amount. It's breaking the 50,000. So it should, if you're break 50,000.
But it's not a construction project. This is not a building and architect project according to state law. I wouldn't want you to argue that this, I want to get the state law out on this.
I agree, but if you interpret
it's,
what he's
Could
got
you
here for
let
the
the mayor
Tennessee
finish? I
code.
wanted to hear what he had, he was in the middle of his sentence.
well, I mean, the law is if there's a modification to electricity, on the 3rd unit, we will have to make a modification to the electricity. The electrical load that we have now will only handle those 2 units as we replace them from geothermal to a heat pump model.
Okay, that's because you're going from one model to another, it's going to require that level of intervention, therefore that's why it's probably interpreted that way.
Are
And
those
that
heat
3rd
pump
unit,
units?
I can't guarantee will not go out before the end of the fiscal year. Now, if we run till the end of the fiscal year with nothing going out, we're fine. And I'm willing to take that gamble and just replace one. But I've been overruled from finance on that.
Well, I guess here's my question. Go Commissioner Jones for ask.
I was just gonna make a motion to, put this to old business until we get the finance director in here to answer
But
these
bear in
questions.
mind, we have a unit that's out right now in the archives building. So we do need to get
The one?
So you have,
something going.
the 3rd unit is broken and
No,
it's
the
basically.
second unit is broken.
Yeah, 2nd of 5.
Yeah. The second unit's broken, and if we just replace that one,
Okay.
then we're okay.
I guess I was misinterpreting his email. It says this is the
It's the third
second
one
unit
that's the-
replaced this fiscal year. Okay.
But
This
it
will
hasn't
be
been
the
I
replaced
said
yet.
this will be the second unit replaced this year, meaning, and we get to that 3rd one, that's where you get
That 3rd one is where we have to have an engineer come in because we have to modify the electrical, and that requires engineering report.
Scott.
Mr. Mayor, do you know how much it cost to replace the first one and when it was replaced?
No, sir, I don't have that information in front of me.
That would be helpful.
It was this fiscal year.
Well, we got a motion by Commissioner Jones to defer this till May.
Well,
Second.
that was, hang on, that was before I knew we had 1 unit out. Is that gonna be a problem operating without a unit?
What is I guess we have 4 units currently operating right now and 1 broken.
Is it functioning, you just have to keep adding Freon to it, or is it not working?
It's
at all?
geothermal.
It's out.
Is there anything
Oh.
so this is the 2nd unit, is there anything that precludes us from moving forward and recommending a budget, replace this 1 unit right now?
Finance
Oh.
director.
But it's not the 3rd one.
It's
So,
not the 3rd one, and if the 3rd one doesn't go out before June 30th, we're fine.
well, budget tries to kill a lot of things that we do in here sometimes.
Well,
So,
if we can get through budget by June anyway.
It wouldn't hurt my feelings if y'all push just 1 unit through, and we get fixing that.
I'm gonna make a motion to approve fixing 1 unit and send it to budget.
Second.
And we'll let, and then Mr. Loring can address it there.
Yeah, I'm willing to gamble.
In your own budget
Fine.
committee, so you can see what David has to say, so we'll do that, that's my recommendation. Can that happen next week and not wait till May? That's my question, Dustin, or Eric, or
He said yes.
Scott.
Thumbs up.
Thumbs up? Okay.
It's a zone issue. I don't know how the zones are divided in that big building, because it's very open. So I'm thinking they've got, usually when engineers calculate this stuff, they have a percentage that they calculate over.
Well, that's fine.
And so I don't think anybody's gonna die in that building from heat exhaustion.
So they're all working together to cool one space?
This particular unit's for the director's office in the front conference.
We got a
But her
motion,
door is always
we got a
open.
second to approve, send a budget to approve funding for one unit at this time.
Yeah.
All in favor, side?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, and then you guys can, my question is make sure it's on budget. The agenda hasn't come out yet that I know of, so there's time to add it before tomorrow. Or tomorrow. But if not, you guys can do it from the floor, hopefully on the table on Monday. All right. Item D, discussion for new courtroom build-out, page 152, Mr. Shamrock. I'm open the floor, make a motion for discussion.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, Scott.
So for the courtroom build out, I reached out to Kimley Horn, which was the architect that we were using for Franklin Street, as we don't have a whole lot of projects going on with them right at the moment. Had a meeting with them last week. They don't have interior architects.
I was gonna say
So-
they're a civil, aren't they?
They only do building architecture and landscape. So I asked for recommendations. I reached out
Can you
to,
stop there for a second and repeat? So the,
they don't do interior architecture.
They're civil engineering firm.
okay, and this is the people you reached out to. This is, I was making sure it wasn't the people who did it.
This was after I
Okay.
reached out to the original
Gotcha,
architect
gotcha,
that
gotcha. Okay.
turned it down. I then reached out to Wold Architects. I have a meeting with one of their ladies Thursday at the courthouse. We're gonna walk through it and go over everything and kind of go from there. But that's kind of my next one on my list, and that's kind of where it stands. They seem fairly interested in it, and then going all for it.
Recommendations for the architects that have done some as
I'm gonna call the same guy who gave us a price on the Millersville.
Millersville, yes, excuse me.
And he's right next to the police station in Gallatin.
I mean, it won't hurt to have several people listening.
Yeah, it wouldn't hurt to
This
have
is
several people.
Ridiculous we're having to do this anyway, so.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, so no action to take on that right now.
I'm-
Old business or all?
Do we need this on this, or can you just cover this under the?
I didn't put it on my report.
All right, we'll let him put it on another report, and we will just remove that from our agenda. All right. Making a note here. All right, Franklin Street Stormwater, pages 153, 157. Do I have a motion for discussion?
Motion to
Motion by
discuss.
Commissioner Klein, second by Commissioner Jones. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, Mr. Shamrock.
All right, so for this one, we're getting there. We're getting there with the Gallatin and the Franklin stormwater. We did the bid out. I've got LNG just waiting on the back burner right now. I'll let them know as soon as I get my way forward. We'll do our contract negotiations and get everything underway. It's not a big deal. They understand. Kimley Horn was only scoped to do the bid. So we paid them $10,000 to do the bid out, and then that was all of their scope of work. I reached out to see what it would cost. I still have $29,000 and some change on the line because LNG came under budget. Asked them what it would be for an NTE of $20,000 was recommended. If we use all of that for them to run all construction admin or not, we'll see. They're going to run hourly with an NTE of $20,000, so we could come under that significantly or over it.
Could you explain NTE, please?
Not to exceed.
Thank you.
20,000. But
So
this is just keep you
would they
guys.
be hiring an independent person, not somebody in their own company, or?
Oh, they would be doing it. So
They
Matt.
would be doing it in-house?
Matt Schlicker, he would be the one in charge of the whole thing. Doing the construction admin and review of all the construction.
Are you comfortable with that?
Yeah,
Okay.
much more comfortable than I was doing. I know nothing about storm drains.
I know a lot about
Yeah.
storm drains.
So,
Commissioner Klein, are you comfortable with that?
Well, it's kind of like the fox watching the hen house. You know, usually if you're gonna have a concrete, or an administrator overseeing the construction, he
It's gonna be
doesn't.
$20,000, if we got $20,000, they're gonna make it $20,000.
Do you think you could
That's right.
find an independent oversight and get a price from him? Seems like a lot of money to watch a 3-week project.
it's not a 3-week project, it's 2 to 3 month project.
2 to 3 months? Wow, okay.
It was, I think they added it.
I mean, we're still waiting on the water department to make their connection.
Correct.
From
Yeah,
the
they're
water.
still doing their
Probably
part.
gonna be something to Gallatin's next apartment complex or high-rise.
Well, the city of Gallatin just put in an 8-inch water line, or 12-inch.
I think it was 12.
I think it's a 12-inch water line in the same street, and that made room for our storm drain, so, and they replaced the sewers, so the sewer's brand new.
Right.
I mean, the only thing we have to worry about is water laterals and gas, you know. It doesn't seem like it'd be a 3-month project, but I guess they could run into complications. Anyway, I would like to see us try to find somebody who's independent, who would oversee that thing, to watch out for us. It's not that I don't trust LNG, it's just, seems like the right thing to do is to have an independent oversight working on our behalf and not on the pipe company's behalf.
The other thing that goes along with this is getting Gallatin to pay us. So we're trying to ramp this up because they still haven't repaid that money. And this was part of the
For the parking
agreement.
structure, yeah.
Yeah, and this was part of the agreement. Once we get this started, that
Old business or
should
drop.
be paid.
Yeah.
So we're trying to get it up and
Do we need
running
to take action on
as
this?
quick as possible.
Well, can we instruct, do you think you could find somebody who's independent that could be the oversight, the general manager of this pipe going in? Somebody besides?
I mean, I could get options. I don't know if it's gonna cost $20,000 or if it's gonna cost more.
Or
You
less.
might get worse.
Or less, I don't know either. So do we have to make a motion, or can Scott just go after it?
We need to make a motion.
I make a motion that Scott look for at least one person who would do the general management of, and oversight of that storm drain.
And if they can't find one,
Well, let's,
So are you, this is my question, are you, the LNG has their own person that will oversee it while they're putting it in?
They'll have a supervisor there.
Supervisor. And who will the supervisor report to? Our, marshal?
It would either, right now it would be me,
You?
and to be honest, I don't know anything about putting a storm drain in the ground.
Marshal?
So whatever they tell me, I'd have to take at face value.
But you'll charge $20,000 to do that?
And then you're looking at it,
I mean, I trust the-
project manager for storm drain, that's like a civil engineering project?
I trust the architect engineers more than I
I'm
trust.
confident Scott can find somebody.
so,
I think it's gonna
The
happen.
motion is for Scott to
Find it.
research finding an independent project manager.
so we need to wait till next month to have this come back to us. I mean, before we.
Well, we don't, yeah, the contract may not even be final in a month anyway.
All right,
I have a question on that.
Okay, so that was my motion, is there a second?
We need a second, you can
I'll
ask.
second it for point of discussion.
Okay.
Mr. Jones?
I mean, I just wanted to kind of flesh that out. Where do you see him making a phone call to go to for?
Oh, there's, I mean, there are independent
You
oversight.
may have a black book full of them, but,
I don't, but.
I mean, where do you think he's gonna go to look that's gonna be a trusted source that's, and I'm not questioning the whys. You've got a, good reason to say that. We do want some
Frankly,
oversight.
the first guy I would call is
But-
John Janung.
Yeah, but that's not gonna happen. I mean.
No, but he probably knows 20 people that do that.
Yeah,
Oh, okay, for references, stuff, yeah.
I can ask him. Tell you who you need to ask is the city of Gallatin, their storm drainage people. They'll be able to give you a source, because I just had them out looking at a storm drain problem at one of my rentals. And they'll help you. They don't want to fix anything, but they'll help you.
We have a motion, we have a second. Is this gonna, by doing this, is there any delay on our part, or is it,
I mean, the project will just delay another month.
I don't want that to happen.
Well, but it's already delayed anyway because we don't have a final contract, and they haven't, David Kellogg told me.
Tomorrow I could do the contract.
Yeah.
Can they run parallel to where it doesn't delay? 'Cause I
You
don't
know,
want to delay it.
if it was going to delay, could we do a special call meeting?
well, it's gonna delay?
No, it doesn't necessarily delay, depending on when the contract's ready and when the city of Gallatin finally gets the water hooked up.
But do we have to vote on that contract, or do we have to vote on who he brings for the oversight?
You'd have to vote on the people for oversight.
And
It delays about a month.
unless we have a special call meeting for it. Right?
Keep in
Technically,
mind,
yeah.
you got budget coming up.
What do you mean?
How many
My other
people-
argument
Time's
is
gonna be
to do
spent
Kimley
doing
Horn
that.
because they just bid it and they know every single part of this project.
To use them for the oversight? That's what I was gonna ask, is what do we get for our $10,000?
We got
20.
bid.
The bid, and
Yeah,
then they're
Kimley-
having L&G do
Kimley
it.
Horn could do it.
I mean, they just bid it, so they know everything about the project. Yeah, I mean, they're only billing us hourly, and I told them an NT of $20,000. But they're gonna, right now, they could hit the ground running. Tomorrow, technically. But it's up to you.
They're independent, so I would have no problem with Kimley Horn doing it. They don't have any connections with LNG that anybody would know of. LNG's a contractor, Kimley Horn's a civil engineer.
Can we ask them to bid that oversight part of the job out? What they would charge for it, or are we just offering them $20,000 to do it?
Well, we can ask them for a price. They haven't given you a price yet.
They couldn't give me a price. They told me it would be hourly, and it would be roughly $15,000 to $20,000. And we said we would do it, and we'd do it.
I always hire
not
guys
to
like that
exceed.
by the hour, you know.
So do we need to do something not to exceed, or?
Yeah, we can do a not
or
to.
That's what we're doing.
Say up
Already-
to 20,000?
He did.
It already has that, that's what
He
it
already has that.
already says not to exceed $20,000
Well,
per
then let's
hour.
just do Kimley Horn.
Let's have Kimley Horn do it.
All right. is
You
that
gonna change your motion?
Yeah, I'd make a motion that we use Kimley Horn as the oversight for this pipe project.
Is there any problem with that?
Yeah, I'll have it signed by the mayor tomorrow, and the
I'll
contract
second.
negotiations start with LNG as soon as all
All
that's
right,
done.
all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Move that.
You're gonna move it?
Yeah.
We're not gonna have an update on.
It'll come in.
It'll come in as.
Yeah, I'll do my monthly.
Okay,
Okay.
we're done with that.
Gotcha.
All right, item F, do I have a motion for discussion?
Motion to discuss.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Janone, motion by Commissioner Klein, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? This I added to the agenda was brought up from our law director's office, just flagging a little bit. This was Ron looking gone, but you'll look at the plans that you have.
And I need these back when you're done with them.
Yeah, so these will go back to the law director's office. This drawing right here, the black, this is the, if you take,
It's this right here.
if you take this long sheet of paper, it's the top portion.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna draw a line right here at the top portion of this corridor. there's basically a kind of wall here a little bit. This is a dividing line, and this is what the recovery court is asking for this space. And the sheriff is asking for everything else in the space. And we did a tour last October or late October. This is what we did a tour of.
Let's come down here like now.
Did I cut it off the wrong
Yeah,
side?
you cut it off a little too early. You notch it right there.
Okay.
Go down just a little bit more.
Okay,
And then
gotcha.
come across.
There we
Right there.
go.
There you go.
That's what I got.
Yep, yep, that's it.
No, they're not doing that. They're actually
Yep,
going up
right
here.
there. Nope.
No, they're going up here.
There's two little ones right here.
They're just asking.
Oh, you're right, you're right.
They're asking for just this, a smaller space.
I did the whole
actually.
picture, not the dark outline.
So, anyway, that's where the dividing line starts on that left-hand side. And then my understanding was, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, was the sheriff asking for all this bottom portion of that
That's
facility.
what I recall.
Do I know?
Yes,
Gotcha.
I think so.
Just a notation, obviously, we need to, as a commission, approve the allocation of that space. That is our statutory obligation and responsibility on assigning space to department heads and departments in constitutional officers such as the sheriff or the judges. So I think we just need to push that forward, if that's our intent, to allow the sheriff to occupy it and go into this lower half and allow recovery court to go in the upper half, which is the opioid process for the $500,000 plus the $165 extra that they're getting, I think, their grant, or approaching. Supposedly, we're being told no cost to the county.
Want that in writing.
Yeah, we will want that in writing from the recovery court for you guys, for record for you this time. We're not gonna take somebody's word for it from the state, because they obviously did not tell us the truth on that. So, I guess, probably need a motion to officially declare this space. Mr. Law Director, correct me if I'm wrong.
And we're talking only for recovery court.
No, both.
We're talking two topics here. What recovery court wants and the remainder basically going to the sheriff's department.
If that's what we're understanding that was the intent or the request or ask.
Well, I just gotta tell you that what the sheriff is in right now and what he's asking for is about 10 times what he's gotten. And about half of his rooms are not even labeled what they are. I mean, look at all the areas that are, he doesn't even have a designation for them.
By doing this, I was gonna ask, are we committing to the project? Because we don't even know what it is. We're saying they can have all of that, but we're kind of starting to lock ourselves into building all that out.
Well,
You're saying he can have it.
This is just giving them a footprint. That's all that you would.
My understanding is they're already using this space. Am I wrong in it?
Yes, it's my understanding that both parties are.
So that's kind of the problem. It's
using
kind of
the
like squatters. Right now they're squatters. I mean, statutorily, that's a true story. So, it's kind of like the election commission, they're squatting currently. So, if recovery court is using this already, and there's no intended use, and there's an ask out there, I don't have any objection with at least moving forward with designating this space for recovery court use, whether it gets renovated or not. It's a perfectly functioning courtroom.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with, it's the sheriff's area that I'm.
Well, it can be that too. We can just focus on the recovery, and then you can have the sheriff table his
We can have-
plans to you all.
Yeah, come and discuss it, but Dustin.
From the recovery court standpoint, you need to realize you have both recovery court and the not-for-profit in there. So if the not-for-profit is in there, then I would be looking towards legal regarding leases or liability, as well as recouping some of the funds for our internal service fees, whether it's electricity, water, or stormwater,
I was unaware of that.
because they are in there as well.
The nonprofit is.
Are they already in there?
They're not in there right now, but the plan is to put them in there. So therefore, you have that section in there as well.
Where would they be?
I have no idea.
They are, they're doing mental health she was here, mental health court, they have offices,
Does anybody know what they're currently already doing? Now, my understanding recovery court has already taken place in this space as it has been for the past 10+ years.
it does.
I mean, so they've been functioning in this space, but now that it's been vacated, it's no longer a courtroom technically, you need to designate the space to them.
I was in there not that long ago. There was nobody in there doing anything.
Well, they only meet on Monday night.
Oh, so, okay.
They're
Well,
not-
that explains
You go on
that.
Monday night, they'll be glad to have you.
You're probably busy being Monday.
Yeah, I don't do much on Monday nights.
No.
So, we don't have to take an action, I'm just saying we need to do, if we're gonna do something in this space that the commission needs to approve, it has to be ratified by the full commission. Either space.
And I'm not trying to keep people from having space, but this ultimately converts into money. You know, the recovery court is, they're worried about the $650,000 or whatever, because that's $150 more than Ron has to work with. And so I'm not as concerned about that, but the sheriff has already talked about $4 million.
I know, which is.
And it's like, wait a minute, I'm sorry, we're gonna build a few walls and probably tear a few others down. Where do we get $4 million from?
Marshall.
Yeah, well,
He's the one that came up with that.
yeah,
Cost and plans.
and so, I need a budget or something.
Well, can we do like the law director said, and just go ahead and designate the top portion, save the sheriff's portion until we see a plan, because we commit to giving it to both of them. We're locking into a plan going forward, and we can never take away and say, no, we want to do something else with this portion because we can't afford to do all of it.
And we don't have to do anything tonight, I'm just bringing it up for discussion, so.
Is that
take Statutorily, yes, it is.
Know that they need to have that designated?
Well, they need to start,
Statutorily, yes. We need to do that. So,
they need, the issue is the opioid money, because it has to be used in a certain time frame, am I right? And so if we delay, we could have a good chance of losing that money for that project.
Who's paying for the renovation for drug court?
Okay, so there's two things that have happened. First option is recovery court not-for-profit. I'm just gonna say not-for-profit from now on. The not-for-profit received $138,000 to move elsewhere because their costs are escalating as well, like Sumner Coalition. So they received those funds, and they have expressed interest in submitting a letter stating that they want their funds to go for this build out. That way they could potentially relocate there. In the plans that we received for our joint meeting, there is a area that's designated as blue and an area that's designated as white, and the blue area was supposed to go for, I believe, recovery court not-for-profit. I will share that with you all tomorrow morning, if Scott will remind me. Now, recovery court itself, which is Judge Blanton, we had a motion to set aside $500,000 for discussions. That's what we are currently in. It's not 100% committed. What I'm going to ask the opioid abatement committee coming up April 23rd, which Commissioner Ginong is correct, we are under a time frame, and it's a little bit too tight for me due to the build outs and everything that's going on. I'm going to ask for that $500,000 to switch from payment number 2 to payment number 3. That will give us an extra lot of time to work through any issues that you all may have, as well as the opioid abatement committee, should they choose to fund this project. So that gives you a total of $638,000. During the meeting that we had that was joint, there was mention from Judge Blanton, I think it was, no, it wasn't, yeah, it was that one. He said there was money left over in payment number 2 that he wanted as well. Recommendation right now from finance is no. That one is going towards potentially another project that a county department needs, which is body scanners as well as mail scanners. At this point in time, Sumner County does not have any mail scanners in its jail facility. And so there is concern about that one, which will be brought up at April 23rd's meeting to see if opioids wants to use that remaining amount to fund the mail scanners, which is what the sheriff has requested. So that is the breakdown of the funds.
And Marshall Boyd's budget, which is very rough, was 650?
It was somewhere around there, yes.
Yeah. I think we're certainly close enough on the drug court area that we could commit to that. It's not gonna be a lot of money, and it could be less.
Well, I know the sheriff's estimate was roughly 3.4 to 4 million, over $3.4 million or whatever he was asking. So.
Yeah, I'm not ready to go there yet.
I don't think anybody is, but.
What I will say is, one of the last conversations I had with Judge Hunter is looking at what Marshall Boyd has done, looking at the bathrooms. They don't need to be relocated, except for they do probably need to be handicapped accessible for ADA compliance, but there was some alternatives that could have been offered in that build out that could have saved us some money in the long run.
There were some
There
alternatives?
could be some.
There could, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think, aren't we gonna do some value engineering? I mean, this is so far from an architectural plan right now.
At this point in time, based upon conversations I have had with the state, it appears I cannot use funding for an architectural rendering to move forward.
Right.
I can only use it for a build out because it is a project that is guaranteed. So if you all were to pursue it, I do not have any funds available from opioid funding to secure an architect.
Okay, so we need to pay for the architect?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
I think, didn't Ted Blanton say that he was working with an architect though? They'd already kind of looked at it.
I think that was for the other property.
Oh, maybe for this property, and it could be Ohio, an architectural firm in Ohio that was briefly mentioned during the joint
Right. He had said something about
committee, I
that.
think.
That he had an architect already looking
Well,
at it.
here's my problem in any of this is that, like the health department, you say, oh, we got $638,000 for this recovery court that needs once a month build out,
No, once a week.
once a week build out. You know, it's just gonna come back as $1 million. The county's on the hook for $400,000. Capital project money. I mean, that's a concern. You know, very real possibility. So, I guess what makes, I don't know, I mean, we don't have to do anything tonight, or if we wanted to move forward, at least, in a resolution designating this space for use for recovery court for usage right now, because they can use it right now within no renovations. It's a functioning courtroom. It functioned for 30-something years. So there's nothing wrong with it. I mean,
Right, and it's got functional bathrooms.
yeah,
It's
I mean, use it with no renovations, it can be done right now, and it is. So, I mean, it's got offices that can be moved into right now, as it is, you know, without any renovations, without a dollar spent, technically, right?
Mhm.
So,
To give you a heads up, the ADA compliance, when Director Loin had me look at it, that has not been addressed is the parking lot, because that parking lot is not ADA compliant. So once you start looking at everything, we need to also add that into the cost, because that would need to be addressed. Because that is in the ADA renovation update book that is online.
That will require level
no,
of
no good
parking
deed goes
spaces.
unpunished, Jay. Mr. Mayor.
We also have a parking lot project going on right now that y'all have allocated money, that we could put some of that money to make that ADA compliant.
We need a wheelchair ramp up from the parking lot into this.
Yep.
And
There is a
door.
wheelchair ramp on the front of the building. So.
Yeah, but that's gonna be closed off here.
Okay, you're talking about for
And
that
so
second-
the new
back
entrance
side.
is gonna be over here with this parking lot, and there's
On
probably.
that back entrance. You're talking about just the back doorway
Yeah,
to that.
there's gonna be a
sidewalk.
3 or 4 foot elevation differential, and I think the ratio is 1:15, so we need 60 feet of, if it were 4 feet in elevation difference, we would need 60 feet
If
of
y'all move
wheelchair.
forward with the space allocation, what I can do is go ahead and start on the parking lot project, based on their intentions, you know, because I think that'll probably go through with the funding. But get the parking lot up to ADA compliance.
Here's the reality of the situation. Drug court's been in there for over a decade, in this space functioning. So,
Well, actually, that's not true.
all right.
They have been using Judge Blanton's courtroom, which is
Talking about the
On the
new
other
one
end.
or
the old one in this building. So they
Oh,
have
and
it
then-
in there, and then they have Recovery Court Inc. has offices upstairs. When you come in the side entrance off of Smith, you come in there and you turn to the right, you go up the stairs, and then up in there, that's where Recovery Court Inc. is. Those are their offices.
Well,
and-
I know there were their offices. I'm talking about recovery court where they meet.
Well, in his,
General
they've been
Sessions
using,
courtroom.
yeah, they've been using that, and that's why they're gonna take Judge McKee's yeah, her courtroom, they're
that's-
not in, no. they-
Keys is this one here.
Yeah, but they use this one over here.
Okay, gotcha. I stand corrected. Thank you for clarifying.
I make a motion that we go ahead and allocate that
Space.
section, that space to Recovery Court, for their project, and move,
Or
so,
just for recovery court,
right.
period. I mean, whether this project gets funded or not, there's nothing precluding them from using the space. We just need to allocate it, so.
So that's fine.
All right, that's a motion by Commissioner Janone, second by Commissioner Kalan. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion
And
carries
then
unanimously.
if the mayor
So that'll-
can look into the handicap ramp on that parking lot over there.
And that'll come, we'll take that straight to the full commission, the resolution from Gen Ops, right? Mr. Watericker?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. We get one back. Keep that in my personal stash.
And it'll have an attachment that's redacted.
So, that's item F.
Do you need this one?
We're gonna keep item F still under old business because it's half of a, yeah, we discussed that. All right. And item G, have a motion for discussion.
Motion to discuss.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That was a vote, second by Commissioner Jones, thank you. So pages 158 to 161, Commissioner Klein asked me to put this on here, so Mr. Klein, I'm gonna let you lead this discussion.
Okay. Became aware of a new law that was passed, and I actually had the law director look up, and it does have a number.
Other than these bills that we have.
Other than these numbers. And what this does is it will allow the county to charge $1.50 a square foot instead of the 70 cents on new construction of residential, commercial, and industrial.
Repeat that again?
It'll allow the county to charge $1.50 a square foot on all new construction as a, and I believe it's all school fee. It's a privilege tax, and privilege to build in our county. And, you know, when you look at our private act from 1999, the adequate facilities tax, it was 70 cents then, and it's 70 cents today. $1.50 doesn't even get us close to what the inflation has changed.
Well, it's also the 40 cents for commercial and retail. We weren't capturing that we lost about $20 million
Yeah.
over 20 years because we weren't
Right.
capturing the money. So we've started capturing that, but my question is, does this include industrial, commercial, retail,
Yes.
residential, all the above?
The only, I went through it in great detail today, and the only thing that it doesn't go after is what they call an industrial, it's a huge project, like 1,000 acres or something like that.
Well, currently we do have, the adequate facilities tax does cover industrial.
Yeah, and this covers industrial as well, but it doesn't cover industrial that's a huge industrial project.
Like a space park or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, like 1,000 acres.
Like, yeah.
You say space park?
Like a space park in Gainesville or something like that.
It's
A
space
mega
park.
site.
Space Park
It-
South and
North,
North.
Space Park South.
Oh, it's the name of it.
Yeah,
When they say
not-
space park, I'm thinking like NASA. I mean,
Probably that too.
I mean, stuff like that.
Okay, so it refers to an industrial mega site. Generally consists of a minimum of 1,000 contiguous acres. We're not,
Very rare.
yeah, very, very rare and probably not gonna ever happen in Sumner County. I mean, never say never, but
But can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Would it default back to the 70 cents for that? It would stay current?
you know, there are a few qualifications. We have to prove that the population has grown 20% or more from the census of 2010 to 2020.
No, I'm
Red
saying on that mega,
Gallatin.
I'm saying is
Yeah.
the mega structure, it precludes those things, but does that fall under the original 70 cents like it always has? This new fee wouldn't apply to them, but does the old fee still apply to them? If there were such a thing.
You know, in reading it, I don't know that it actually referenced what it would go back to if it wasn't a.
What paragraph is that in?
You're locked in for 4 years.
You
on
you don't, you
5160.
don't, you don't have it because it was backup stuff that I had to
When you
print
do it, you're
out.
locked in for 4 years.
Right, at that rate.
I guess I'm questioning but this is $1.50 across the board.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the staggered like commercial at 40 cents versus $1.50 is a lot different. I
No,
mean,
it's $1.50 for everything.
So, are there any other counties that have adopted this or?
I don't know, it's pretty new. You know, I haven't gone and talked to any other counties. Josh may know. But, you know, I'm just, it's so ridiculous that we're still charging 70 cents after 30 years.
Well, correct. I mean, Mo Taylor called it the inadequate facilities tax because it's wholly inadequate to service the debt that is caused by residential construction, straight up. And on average, we bring in $2.8 million a year for this fee. And from 14 to 19, the county borrowed on average $48 million per year for new school construction or new school expansions. And borrowed $48 million, brought in $2.8 million.
Right.
On that 5-year span, averaged out. And that was 2 property tax increases,
Yeah.
all because of residential development. So growth does not pay for itself when it comes to the residential Ponzi scheme here.
Right.
But I guess my only question is that too high for commercial, which does not impact our schools, it does not negatively impact our infrastructure, other than traffic issues.
Well, and that's a good question, and I don't have a good answer if that would deter businesses from coming here to do business, and I don't want to do that.
Well, that's, well, here's the frustrating part is the reason this exists is they came up with this. I think this is still, the adequate facilities tax is a crappy solution. I think this is a crappy solution.
I agree.
It's because the Home Builders Association, the Realtors Association control the committee members in the State House, specifically the committee over this, the Governmental Affairs Committee and this city community, whatever it's called, I can't remember all the names. And they have killed any bills to repeal the 2006 County Powers of Relief Act that precludes and keeps the county from doing any kind of impact fee for school construction and going to a lot box for that educational purpose, and that's the problem. So they came up with this.
This is throwing us a bone.
It's not even that. It's like uneatable scraps from the master's table. I mean, in my opinion. But I mean, it's better than 70 cents a square foot, but it's not as flexible as what we have. I mean, sure, you're over doubling the residential, which is great, but it's too little too late.
Yeah.
For especially cities like Gallatin. I don't know if they're ever going to stop.
But this does, you do have to charge, the cities have to charge it too. It talks about specifically.
Well, they do right now.
Yeah.
The county likes,
Yeah.
as far as like that.
Yeah.
But again, $2.8 million a year on average with all the growth we've had.
Yeah, this would have gotten us.
almost $50 million a year on average for a 5-year period, 2 tax increases to pay for that growth for
Yeah,
new schools.
This would have gotten us $6 million a year. It's, yeah, you're right, it's scraps.
It's still scraps, but it's still, I mean,
I
you know,
personally.
5 years ago, you could have paid $20 million cash for an elementary school, so.
I personally think this would deter residential. I don't think it would deter commercial. Being in a, you know, I've done it all. And, you know, you just kind of roll with the punches. But when you talk about industrial or commercial, you know, that's a long-term investment by a developer. And I just don't think, whether it's 40 cents or $1.50, I just don't think it's going to deter them. It might deter residential, but, you know, I'm good with that because frankly, we need businesses here a whole lot more than we need residential development. If we're sending 50,000 people outside the county every day to go to work.
Commissioner Jim?
Would the commercial portion of this be negotiable for any new incoming businesses coming into the county?
This is
I know the
state
state
law.
does it all the time.
This is state law.
No, but the state does tax breaks all the time. I don't know if they could.
Well, the pilot program's a different thing. You know, what a pilot program is, it's pay in lieu of taxes. And I don't know if it works with commercial. I think it works only with industrial. You know, what happens is Facebook bought all that acreage and then they quit claimed it to the Gallatin Industrial Board. And so they don't have to pay property taxes. Right. And neither does the Industrial Board because they're a government organization.
But it was sold to the county as we're gonna get all this tax revenue.
But they do have to pay something, but I have no idea what it is. Maybe the mayor knows.
It's a secret.
It's a bait switch.
So.
Bad deal for the taxpayer.
Yeah, pilot program's terrible for the taxpayers. You know, we get it, we get it in
I
a
was
short
just trying
time.
to think of your worry about, you know, it turning away commercial, and I don't know that it would. The consumer's gonna pay it in the end anyway, so. If it's a good location, it's a good location. We'll figure out a way to.
Yeah, well, and that's why I don't think it'll deter commercial or industrial, because a good location's a good location, and $1.50 a square foot when your construction costs are 150 to 300, depending on what you're building. It's not much. It's not much, and it's not much to a commercial or industrial endeavor that says, hey, you know, we're here for the long term. We're going to charge rent, and that's just the way.
So you're making a motion tonight?
Well, I don't know if you know, since this is so new to all of us, I didn't know if we'd want to
do this personally.
If we'd want to wait so that we could study it, because this is brand new to you.
Well, I guess I would like to read the final. Mr. Sutter, what did you pass? This is a lot of different codes.
I just tried to pull the actual statutes as they read, and if you go through this.
Which one was actually passed in the public hearing?
No, these were just amendments to these statutes, is what this ended up being. This is a bill, and the purpose of the bill was to amend the statutes that I've provided. And those statutes have the new language in them now.
All of these?
Yes. Those are all different statutes, if you'll read the numbering.
And yeah, I definitely, that's why I was, it was a
But
lot of statutes.
I did those in order of what you see on what was part of the agenda.
So each of these, all these
package.
statutes are being
addressed
in those
in
two
here.
pages there.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I got it. Yeah, I don't want to read through.
Yeah, I would advise that, because this is a big move. So I think we need to study it individually and then come back. So my motion would be to defer any action on it until next month.
We'll just keep on old business.
Okay.
We don't need a motion for that.
Do we have any estimate on how much that would add to the revenue stream?
No, we have to get with the,
We'd have to get with planning. They could tell us.
yeah, the assessors.
Yeah, planning could probably tell us how many
We just
square
have to go
feet.
to the assessor's office.
Yeah, but should we go ahead and plan that to have that information come next month?
Yeah, I gotta get together with Marshall about a few things anyway, so.
Can you also get together with John
Would-
Hurt and ask him to work up a estimate?
Would John be the guy to talk to?
That's what I'm asking.
About
What are you looking for?
Looking for.
Square footage calculation.
Calculations
Property
added
assessor.
year after year,
See
so
what it
we
would
can
change.
figure
There's
out.
future growth, he won't have those numbers.
But he has the past ones, right?
Yeah, no, but you can say whatever. That's true.
Yeah, you can look at all the parcels that we have, figure out what's been built in the past 5 years, and then do the math on it, and you're gonna,
Yeah,
you
'cause
can
he-
apply the 70 cents versus the $1.50.
Yeah, Josh
40
would
cents
know
versus
what's in the
$1.50.
county, but he wouldn't know in the city, so John would be
You
the
can
guy to
extrapolate
talk
that data
to.
for sure.
Okay.
So I'm gonna put a note for Klein to
Well, this
follow
is
up.
for city too, right?
Yeah, and that's why John would have all the parcels in the cities. Josh only knows what
Oh, you
we've
said
built. in-
Josh would only have county.
Yeah,
John would have,
right.
gotcha. I thought,
Yeah, I'll try to create a graph over the last few years. And maybe we can speculate on what new developments would be.
All right, motion to adjourn? All in favor, say aye.
You're funny.
Well, so much for getting out of
Have a good night.
Yes, sir, thank you. Hey, we did a lot of good work today.
We did work.
It was good
work
work.
every time. We did good work every time.